6. Command Toga, SRS runway, auto thrust is blue. 80 knots, thrust set. 5500. 3 left. Rotate.
Check, testing 1, 2, 3. We are live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hold on, let me change this screen over there. Beautiful, and we're back. All right, what is going on? 5x5 on the audio. I'm hyped up. I hope you're hyped up. We're in an A380 where we are sitting on the ground here in Kai Tech, where we left off with the 330 from yesterday. This is the final AMD test, y'all. The AMD test, for those that were around for the last 380 stream, this airplane was literally unflyable for me in 2024. I was able to fly it in 2020 a little bit if I turned all my settings down to some mediocre settings. I was able to actually fly it rather decently, but once I switched to 24, it was just too much of a hog. I can tell you right now I'm using 23 gigabytes of VRAM on the ground, engines off at Kai Tech right now. So it is a cranking the VRAM out here, but the biggest difference I've noticed is it's still pretty smooth. Now, we're going to see if we get any stutters. If we get a hiccup here or there, that's to be expected, like when I'm changing views, I guess. I just want to see if we can fly this plane from A to B without just like completely crashing the stream. So, that's what we got in store. Up in cruise, we're going to be looking at some Green Dot Aviation. I can't wait for that. We haven't done a Green Dot episode in a while. I figured we'd warm up the Green Dot episode since we're going to be using some of those for the A350 release. I was watching some of that from Mini Builds earlier. Their trailer looked absolutely awesome, or their pre-release, not trailer, their pre-release stream that they were doing. A couple of awesome little features on that 350. Can't wait to get my hands on that one. So I'm sure we'll be doing a lot of Green Dot. Now, Might also be using the, well, I'll save that for later. Anyway, so that's it. That's the plan for us today. The 380 here on the ground, full live, ready to go. Now, one other, look at that, Flight Simulator 98. That's the window, that's the box I remember. One caveat here. So the settings for today's stream, I am not running any auto LOD. I don't like auto, or not running auto FPS. I don't like that app. It looks too, trying to do too much. I'd miss my auto LOD from Fragtality. Fragtality, my man, if you're out there, you got to just make that simple version that you made at the very beginning for 2020. It was the juice. I just need that for 2024. So what I've done is I've set my LOD for this flight to 200. So we're 200 LOD on the ground. The whole flight, it's not going to change. We're going to stick with a 200 LOD, mostly ultra and high settings across the board. And this is the 4K A380 variant right now. So without further ado, let me, little screen pause here. I got to change my monitors over and I am ready. Let's bring it back over here. Let's fire this airplane up. There is a version of dynamic LOD for 24. I am aware, Kyle Lewis, it's called auto FPS and I don't like it. It's not the same thing. I want dynamic LOD OG. If you didn't use dynamic LOD, the OG version from Fractality, then you're missing out. That was the best one. It was simple. This one trying to target your FPS and all that, I don't want that. I will control my FPS. You just do what I tell you to do, and it just seems like it's too much nonsense. So I could be wrong. Anyway, I don't care. Let's see if we even need it. This is going to be the ultimate test right here. So up to the overhead. First things, I guess second things second, since we've already done first things. We've already gotten farther than I had in the last stream. I'm panning through views, and we haven't had a stutter fest. If you remember, the last time we did this on the ground, I could not even change views on the ground. So we're already ahead of the game. Mr. Saturday said it's already compatible. It's not, Mr. Saturday. He said himself that it's not compatible. I asked him in the Discord, man. He said it's not compatible, and I got to use this auto FPS thingy majigger, and I tried downloading it, and it's dumb. I don't like it. It's too confusing. I like auto LOD. Bring it back. All right, GPUs are coming up. Sounds are coming up. Hopefully you got enough sounds. Let me know if you want me to turn them up any more for y'all. Crew supply, we'll go ahead and get that. We'll get ADIRs 1, 2, and 3. We'll get the strobe auto logo. We'll put into auto as well. No mobile auto. Arm the emergency exit lights. I've noticed a little bit of I don't know if that's a flicker or just, I don't know, a little bit of movement, I guess, on some of the textures. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. We'll do a fire test for everything. Beautiful, that looks good. We'll come back down to the box. We'll hit the magic barrel ref so I know what it is. And I've already imported the SimBrief data. So what I will do is I'll go down here to fuel. Let's go ahead and start that first. We'll get the refueling started, I believe, right? Refueling is, we're going to actually have to defuel the aircraft. While that's doing its thing, let's go ahead and get the airplane fired up. The batteries are waiting. They are waiting. Been a minute since I knew I had to click something else up there. Been a minute since I had to turn those on, or fly the 380 rather. Kyle says I'll send you a link on Discord. It's Dynamic LOD Reset Edition. It's a fork from Fragtalities. Oh, really? All right, Kyle. Well, hit me up. I'll have to take a look at it. If it's too confusing, it's going to be dead to me. All right, let's go ahead and do a company request for the flight plan here. Yes, we are at Kitech, Dale. We're sitting at Kitech. I wound the sim time forward. I think it's 3 a.m. I moved it to 6 a.m., so it's now 6:08 local time. We got the uplink in progress. Now, what's also unfortunate is there's a really nice, dirty tie livery. It's from Hughes liveries or Hughes something. I can never remember what it is. I downloaded it. It was the most amazing 380 livery I've ever seen. But the engines are wigging out for me in 2024. Sometimes I have 2 black engines, 2 pink engines. You saw on the thumbnail I have 2 pink engines, 2 green engines. Then one time I had 2 white engines and 2 yellow engines. And it seems to change whenever I boot up the sim. So I've tried different configurations, variants. I don't know what's going on with that, which is really unfortunate because I really, really liked that dirty tie livery. Awesome looking texture work. So yeah, Hughes by Horizon, thank you. Hughes by Horizon. And I just couldn't get it to work, so unfortunately I had to use this one, which this one isn't bad, but it's kind of meh compared to the other one. So I don't know what was going on with that livery because I'd never seen that before. I've seen where like maybe the textures don't load in or it's not compatible. This was straight up like changing colors on the engines. Uplink is in progress, it says. Okay, we'll see. FMS2, why are you in progress? Maybe it's not in progress? Maybe it just takes a long time. Or do we have to put in the flight number? We're going to be THA 357 SUPA. Alright, we'll enter you in there. Maybe that's what I need. Did file a flight plan, right? We did generate the flight. Yes, we did. THA 357. I was able to download it. Sometimes the auto import fails, so don't tell me that, my man. Don't tell me that. I did notice the EFB lags a little bit too. Like I'm clicking dispatch, home. Let me import SimBrief data one more time. See how I click and... Oh, come on, 380. Both test sectors, the auto import worked. Don't tell me. No import possible due to boarding or refuel in progress. Maybe that's why. Matty K, thanks for the $2 super chat, man. Are we doing a green dot? Yes, we are. If I don't alt F4 the 380, just because it's not. Why does it not auto import? It was working perfectly. Get chaos on the horn. Cruise flight level, going flight level 380. It's a long flight plan to import. We're going to go 999er. Boom. Format air. Cruise flight level. Really? 380 is... Yeah, 999. We'll clear that. That looks good. EFB has issues with clicks at 24. You can get around that by moving the view so the window handle isn't behind the EFB. Oh, good. Chaos is here. So I can say bad things about the 380 to Chaos. What did you say? If you get around that by moving the view so the window handle isn't behind. Oh, because like it's trying to click the click spot perhaps? I see. See, this is why we bring Chaos around. Let me go back over here to the fuel. Maybe when it's done refueling, I'll try importing the flight plan. But I don't know why it wouldn't have imported because... Like I said, I mean, the last 3 times I tried this auto import worked every single time. Play the goodbye music. There goes the stream. No, we're not going to give on it. We're not going to give up on it just yet. We're not going to give up just yet. Flight Sim guy, yeah, I leave all other mods in my community folder, my man. Well, I guess we're just going to have to wait until the refueling is done. This is going to be annoying. All right, what the hell? Let's do this flight plan. Okay, we'll just do it manual. Manual, runway, we're going off 3-1. There is an issue with that. We'll go ahead and insert that. I wonder, maybe because the nav data for VHHX? Wait, what is this? No, this is not right. Hold on, FMS1. No, we're going to VTBS. Insert that, boom, VTBS. I was going to say, that's going to be a short flight. 380. Cost index 999. Okay, there we go. I wonder, because there's no SID selected and I filed a SID. I bet you that's what it is. Because look, I have filed the Psych2 at a VHHX on SimBrief, but I bet you because it doesn't have that in the box, it's not auto importing. Okay, well, man, all right, let's just do it this way. I gotta paste this route somewhere so I can read it. This is Psych2, which is not in there. We'll just do this. I'm gonna go copy. I'm gonna paste you right here. Who flies out of K-Tech or Chi-Tech? I know that you do have a point there, AJ. You do have a point. All right, so insert before. No, okay, we'll insert here. Insert next waypoint. It's gonna be Saikou, S-I-K-O-U. S-I-K-O-U. Are you in the box? Yes, you are. Okay, there we go. After Saikou, we're going to join an airway. Alpha 202, Alpha 202. We'll enter that. Nope, didn't like it. You don't like Alpha 202? Fine. We'll just do the waypoint then. How about that? ASSAD. I'm getting ready to rage quit this airplane. It's not even a AMD thing. Shouldn't get those discos in there. Why am I getting a disco on every single line? 380 is dead to me. Sail is on standby. Let's just Alt F4 it and then let's fly the 747-200 and Felix. I don't know why it would be doing that though for this, because I did 2 test flights out of here and it worked with nav data. Next waypoint after Assad is Rami, R-A-M-E-I. Insert that. After Rami, insert waypoint. It's going to be, let's see if this airway's in here. Hold on. So Rami, insert airway. Let's see if Whiskey 42 is in here. It should be off of Rami. Whiskey 42. Doesn't seem to work. Okay. So we'll just yeet this direct to Pakri. P-A-K-R-I. Enter U. Insert. Man, this is not worth the hassle. I can hear the Sweet Piston Duke calling your name. I'm warming it up. Ruxka East 1 Charlie. Let's see if that's in there. VTBS 32. Runway 2 right, 2 left, 1 left. Where are we going to land? ILS Zulu, runway 2 left. No star. There's no star. Had this issue going from London to Dubai, so it's not the location problem. Maybe I should restart. Should I restart it? Really? I really don't want to restart a flight, man. I'm not going to restart it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We're just going to go with that flight plan right there. Boom. Insert. Perf data. Let's go over here. Yeah, I don't worry. Hey, I selected 2 right J-Dub. I'm not worried about it. I don't think we're going to make it all the way there. Let's go ahead and do a fast boarding process. Perhaps. Maybe. No. Begin boarding. Okay, boarding's beginning. It's not quick to restart, man. It takes like 5 minutes, which I do not want to do that. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We Alt F4 and uninstall it and never fly it again. Simple as that. All right. Oh my word. What? What? Wait a second. Was that? Give it. Wait a sec. What? What? When I started the stream, we weren't sitting on the ground, were we? Oh, something is bugged because now my sim is freaking out. Something's bugged because now my sim's freaking out. When I started the stream, we had gear down, did we not? We had gear when we started the stream. No, it's not paused. Son of a... Unbelievable. Is P pause? It sure is. P is active pause. P is active pause. Well, I'm going to tell you that right now. We're going to go ahead and delete that binding. Oh, my word. Why do we... Why... I swear that... I swear that fly-by-wire just never wants to run on my sim. Toggle active pause. Deleted? Goodness. So, don't tell me this. Tell me the entire flight plan was not received because it was paused. No, I don't think that was it, because we loaded in. We loaded in and we had waypoints. Or, I'm sorry, we had gear when I loaded in. 2020 is still dead to me, Tender Aviation. It's still dead to me. All right, we've got one sus-looking flight plan. That's fine. Let's go ahead and go back to perf data. We need to go to the fuel. There we go. We'll take a look at this. Oh, yeah. A little bit of a stutter there, too. I guess we can put the fuel in here. We're going to have fuel on board is 41.6 kg. So let's go block fuel 41.6. Insert that. We'll wait for the zero fuel weight and the zero fuel weight CG when they are done. We can go ahead and put airports on this. We're going to set a top altitude of flight level 380. 380 is set up there. We should have enough burn off. APU bleed is coming on. We'll put this on captain only. We can't. We'll go ahead and disconnect from the external powers. And with that all done, we just need perf data. We'll be ready to push back. We need to be on 22.8 on our comm, which we are. 22.8 VHF1 selected. Check the push to talk. That works. All right. I miss Key 6. I miss your super chat, man. Thanks for the $5 super chat, Key 6. If you want to take a seat in 38 Echo, we're replacing you with Dak Prescott. Well, here's 38 Echo right back here. I'll take it. I've been replaced. Thank you, Key 6. Appreciate the $5 super chat. I don't know why my audio is not working for the alert box. I don't know why. Active pause known as the Mitch McConnell. AJ, yeah, that was a bad one. That was not a good look, was it? Matthew and Amir? Are you Matthew and Amir from Phoenix? What's up, man? Good to see you. Welcome on board. Navigraph Eric doesn't seem to play nice with fly-by-wire planes. Sim data is better. Well, I can understand that, Philip, but it's frustrating that I tested this twice. I literally tested it twice today, and it worked both times. So the fact, go figure, I go live, and it doesn't work, but it is what it is. Alt F4 and load into the DC-3. Oh, man, Mickey G, don't tempt me. Don't tempt me, man. All right. Refueling is just about done, or it is done, I think. So zero fuel weight is 343.2. 343.2. Enter. Zero fuel weight CG is 35.2 right here. 35.2. Enter. Passenger number. How am I supposed to know that? Passenger number is maybe on my 416. 416. Daggone. 416. That's a lot of people in this airplane here. All right. 416 is set. Now let's go to perf. Takeoff. Runway 31. Are we going to take off? We need to take off 13, don't we? Or do we take off 13? Taking off into the hill seems like not a good idea. Maybe we should flip that around. Let's flip that around. It's not like we have a... see it. It lights up, but won't let me change it. We'll do 13. Into the hills for max juice. Can we clear the hills, though? I don't even... Did they ever take off 13? We're going to go 3-1. We're going to go 3... we're going to go 13. Check takeoff data. We're going to check you right now. We'll go back to perf. All right, now we're going to get some speeds. I got to get speeds via the sim brief. So let's do this. 3-1 is the, 1-3 is the departure. We're going to do a Toga takeoff. Optimum calculate speeds. We're 31, 43, and 50. 31, 43, 50. 131, 143, 150 set. THS for takeoff, we'll call it 36% CG set. That looks good. We're doing a Toga. All right. Taking off into the hills. Excuse me while I grab a bag from the overhead. Cabin door's still open, Callie Simmer. Yeah, cabin door's still open. You're free to disembark. I would actually highly recommend now is your last opportunity. So, can I bring up my OANs thing on here? No? Maybe it's not in the database because it's not on this airport. No constraints, so we got constraints off though. Airport is set 380, speeds are set. We're just about ready to go. Let's turn on our TCAS, which is in the fancy serve page, I think, right? Nope, we gotta go here, serve. We'll go auto on TARA, normal, no auto ATC. We're squawking 2000. Kitech traffic, Thai 357 Super. We're going to be pushing back off stand 1 for 1-3 departure. Kitech. I got 22.8. That is working. I just don't like not hearing anything there. All right. We'll go back to FMS1. Flight plan page. Done. All right. Ooh, a little bit of a stutter there. So far, so good, though, Bill. What's up, man? From what I've seen so far, taking off in a hill doesn't seem like a bad of an idea. Yeah, I don't think it'll work out too well. All right. Let's go to the pushback feature. Let's go ahead and connect the... Hold on. Let's cancel that real quick. Let's make sure all of our doors are closed up. We'll remove the ground power unit. We are closed. Now we can go to pushback. We'll go ahead and turn the pushback on. Confirm. Go ahead and bring up pushback cameras. I don't know why my tiller cam's not loading. That's not nice. Let's turn the beacon on. Beacon is on. And let's go. THS4 is the gross weight CG. We'll be fine. Call tug. .7 would not be in the green band. We're not going to set 42.7. Whoop. Stuttering when we move the cameras. Stuttering when we move the cameras, but we're still able to fly here. Uh-oh. Oh no. We've lost our EFB. Yeah, park brake is on, but I've lost the page. In-op. In-op. Chaos, your 380's dead to me. Dead to me. Just not ready for prime time. See that? Like, I can see the page there, but it's... Oh, I can use my joystick. Oh, it's not dead yet. It's not dead yet. We're using the stick for pushback. And the rudders. Tender, I've never seen that bug on any other airplane in 2024, so I would be inclined to say it's a 380 bug. I am a tug driver now. Wow, the cabin is super bright. I just want to see if we can actually fly this thing. I will probably never fly it again because I just don't think it's ready for 24. But considering I wasn't able to fly it if I wanted to on my last GPU, I want to see if we can fly it here. The problem is going to be disconnecting said tug because I don't know how we're going to be able to do that. Look at that professional pushback, though. Although I feel like I just ran over something. Push complete, set brakes. Brakes are set. And, oh, we got it back. Look, okay. Waiting for tug pin. Okay, you're good. Pushback. Hey, it saved itself. Pushback system off. Good night. We're cooking. We're cooking with gas now. Here we go. Let's start them up. What? Okay, interesting. We got juice. Let's start engine 1. We'll start 1, then 2, and then 2 at a time, I guess. I need to turn those cabin lights down. Starting 2, and then we'll start 3 and 4 together. Sim sounds up. That's high as they go. Looks like my spoilers are slightly deployed, doesn't it? Sounds are low. It said they do sound a little bit low to me, too. Let me check EFB sound settings. Doesn't seem to make it much different. Alright, well, I've turned everything up on my end. It's about as loud as I can make everything. Alright, let's start 3 and 4. Oh, I don't have a front view because I have my green dot view. Let's see if they're louder outside. A little bit. It's not very loud for me either, so I don't know what's causing that. Pretty good pushback though. We got 4 good starts. APU bleeds coming off. We're going back to norm. APU master's coming off. We've got 1 brightness for all, right? So let's do that. I think you got to turn this all the way up and then back off, maybe? Pedestal, ambient light. There we go. There we go. We're juicing it down a little bit here. All right, we're gonna. Oh, what did we set for flaps takeoff? We need to be perf takeoff. We said we're gonna do flap. Nah, we're gonna do flap 2 for juice. Flap 2. Yeah, stuttering, but we're still alive. We're still alive. Flap sounds are loud. Flap sounds are plenty loud. Now that's pretty juice. That is pretty juice. How do we, can we turn down the cabin internal lights? The cabin lights are very bright. Oh man, this is, man, whose idea was it to put the EFB right in front of the door handle there? I don't think we're going to be able to turn down the lights of the cabin, are we? That's presets. They're also controlled by the ambient switch? Okay. So we would have to turn this basically off, which I guess that's not bad. We can turn it off for now. Let's go ahead and set THS in the green band here. Go 35.8, that checks, that looks good. Alright, QNH 1018 Magic Barrel Ref update 380 is blue. Let's do a flight control check. Let's do it properly. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, rudder, full left, full right, neutral. Alright, we're gonna go auto brakes, TO. Oh, the seatbelt sign, I never turned you on, that's my bad. Alright. On and takeoff config test is normal. Alright, FMS is there. We'll go FMS flight plan. Boom. Alright, cool. Flight plan FMS set. Kitech traffic, Thai 357 Super Taxi, runway 13. Kitech. Brakes released. Wow, the LED lighting looks super on the taxiway. No pun intended. Just the way that that is nice. I say I still have cabin lights with my ambience off, Chaos. You're lying to me. Cabin lights are still full bright here. Yeah, a little bit of a stutter when I go to the views, but hey. If you remember what it was like when I was trying to fly this before, I could not change views. Oh, look at the haze on the... Oh, that actually looks really cool. Man. Yeah, see my windows are full bright. Everyone's got maximum cabin lights here. That's alright. Should we do an external lineup? I don't think I've ever done an exterior lineup here. Let's pull a Swiss 001, line the sucker up from external view. Actually, I don't know if I like that. Oh, you could see the little light beam off the nose gear there. My goodness. Did we go into the dirt? I don't think so. I think that was kind of a piss poor lineup. Now here's the problem. There is a hump, an invisible hump here in the runway. Remember we discovered this yesterday? So we got to make sure we don't crash on takeoff here, but we may hear or feel something that is very suspect on the takeoff roll, so just be ready for that. Because when we landed, there was like a fake hump in the runway or something. Alright, lights are set. 500 people here. Get ready to watch a 380 takeoff. Wow, I love that lighting on the ground there. That looks really good. Let's see if we can get some yogas in chat. Make sure you smash that like button. Oh, do you think we can... Should we do packs off for Boris sounds? How many likes? Ah, only 119 on the likes. Yeah, we're definitely not doing a packs off with the 119. You guys are super mid. Alright, I'm going to spool it up 50 from here, and then I'm going to go cockpit view and go the rest of the way. Yoga's in chat. Let's go. Just so I can... I'm not stuttering between power being set. Good Harvest Freight Center. That's cool. Toga. Man, Toga, SRS, auto thrust, bleh. Oh, wow, listen to that. 80 knots, thrust set. Oh, there's the bump. Oh, good night. It's all right, stick with it, 100 knots. We're okay. We told you there was going to be a bump. Positive rate, you're up. Nav, fly with. Lever climb. Wow. Is it loud enough for y'all? Because it's actually pretty loud for me now. It's actually pretty loud for me. Let's go ahead and make a bank angle check to the right here. F speed, flaps 1, checks flaps 1. And that's with a 200 LOD. Wow, look at that. You can even see the smokestacks out there. This is a pretty good stress test. I don't think this would have been possible with my last card. I don't think so. VRAM check, Alex, I guarantee it's pegged out. Here comes the SB. Let's go flaps 0 after takeoff checklist. Look at those ailerons out there dancing. Getting pretty smooth now, pretty smooth. All right, we're gonna go to the flight plan. FMS, active, F plan. Let's go direct to PPAWS direct, activate, nav, bank angle check to the right. Here we go. FPS are stable. All right, I'm going to pull up. I'm not going to be able to see the chat. Let me pull up adrenaline. Give me a second. I have to pull it up on this monitor and then click here. So give me a second. I'm going to let the sim stabilize. Right now I'm getting 80 FPS. We have frame gen on, 22.4 gigs of VRAM, 82 FPS, 81 FPS. Holding steady about 80 FPS and 22 and a half VRAM. As I'm entering the clouds, I think it just went down a little bit. Yeah, it went down a little bit. Oh, now I'm in cockpit view. It's up to 90. Might get a little bit of a breakout here. Let's see what happens. 100 FPS in this view, 101. I do have fluid motion frames on. Fluid motion frames are on. Let me do this. Let me engage autopilot 1, and I'm gonna turn frame gen off. Okay, frame gen is off. No frame generation, 40 FPS, 21.9 VRAM. This is frame gen off. Holding yeah, pretty solid. 40 FPS, 40, 41, 38. So we're definitely above. Yeah, this is with frame gen off. 44 FPS. It frees up a little VRAM. Let me see if I can go. Let's do it on. So now frame gen is coming back on. Fluid motion frames are now active, and it shoots up. It almost doubles up right at 88, 90 FPS. VRAM 22 VRAM. 22 VRAM right now. In the cockpit with frame gen on though, like when I first switch over to this view, my frames drop almost 40. So this is interesting. So I'm gonna want to do a wing view. So we're at 80 FPS. I'm gonna go to the aft wing. And it dropped. Aft wing is 90 FPS. So there you go. I mean, there's your I'm going to leave frame gen on, and I'm going to go ahead and just close that. Now I can see the chat box again. So yeah, I mean, what's crazy to me is a couple things. First off, you guys said that you didn't have sounds. Are the sounds too loud for you now? Because I feel like they're kind of loud for me now. But what's interesting, going from AMD, it's kind of loud. Okay, so this should lower it for you. Okay, so I've lowered it to what I normally run my streams at. You should have a pretty much normal audio now. This should be tolerable as we climb out here on wing view. This is what's really interesting to me, and someone who's smarter, please let me know in the chat, or if you watch this on replay, let me know why this is. On my RTX card, whenever I got close to my maximum VRAM, so when I had 16 gigabytes, whenever I started hitting that 13, 14 mark, my sim would really start to deteriorate. I would see big time stutters. Frame gen would become basically unusable. If I had frame gen on and I got to 14 gigabytes of VRAM, it would start doing that massive stutter thing where we had to alt enter to just attempt to recover the sim. But with AMD, I can run up to 23, and that's even though my VRAM is almost maxed out, I'm still getting a pretty smooth experience with the VRAM getting up towards the limit. Aaron says it's a VRAM having to swap into regular RAM, and regular RAM is much slower. Okay, throttling to protect itself. That's that. I mean, it's interesting. I think it's very interesting to see the differences. Because again, this is my first time getting an AMD. I haven't run AMD since like 2006, maybe 2004. Whenever Full Spectrum Warrior first came out, which I think was 2004, 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. And I vowed to never use AMD again. But I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. Is it the holy grail of cards? No, I don't think it's a holy grail for anything. But the fact that I can stream and I'm in 2K and I'm getting the kind of fluid sim experience that I was after, I'm really on board with it. Costas, I'm running the 7800X3D AMD CPU, so I'm completely AMD out. I'm AMD on AMD now. I don't see any major stutters, if any at all. And Johan, and that's kind of what I was saying, man. Like I've had a couple little hiccups on the ground, panning around, quick view, but the taxi out was very smooth. Other than the takeoff where we hit the bump in the runway, it was very smooth. So, and I mean, the proof is in the streams. That's kind of the cool thing about doing it live. When I'm doing this live presentation, it's not a pre-recorded video edit where I'm making it look good. You saw me literally not be able to fly this airplane to a pretty smooth experience. Let's try some outside view panning here. I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. Bearded gentleman, I'm coming from the NVIDIA GeForce 4080 Super. I got a question. So when I pulled the card out, I don't know if it's a Super. Would it say Super on it? Because mine just says RTX 4080. This one came with pre-built, and I guess I could look up the order and see exactly what it was. But I thought if it doesn't say Super on the card, does that necessarily mean it's not a Super? I don't know if that makes much of a difference, but it's definitely an RTX 4080 GeForce. What aircraft in the sim would you recommend for practicing my complex? Pixelated? Man, if you want a complex, check out the Dows, the DA for the Diamond stuff. I've heard that's really good. The Just Flight Aero is very good for 2020. I enjoyed that. And if you really want to get hardcore with turbocharger, it might be a little bit more than what you're looking to buy it off. But the Duke piston is the pinnacle in my opinion. Yeah, I don't have it installed. I'm pretty sure I had a Super though. I think Super says on it, depends on the car. Yeah, it doesn't say Super, it just says, yeah. I have to look at my paperwork. I just thought if you all knew. If it didn't say it on the card, does that mean it's not a Super? Either way, it's a 4080, RTX 4080, Accelerate Gaming. Some sounds down. Does this change the sound at all for you? So, installing this new card, it completely revamped my sound. Did the sounds go down for you now? No. Okay, so I see what's happening. Now they're going down a little bit there, I would imagine. Yeah. Okay, it's actually completely unrelated to graphics, but my sound mixer is completely working the way I always wanted it and always thought it would work, and I never could get it to work. But now I have to do everything backwards. I'll figure it out here soon. It's actually the way I want it, because I wanted to split the audio, so I wanted to be able to turn down my headphones but still have separate control of the stream audio, so you guys could have sounds and I could keep the sounds minimal in my headset so I could still hear radios and whatnot. So it's working as intended. I've been doing a workaround for so long that I'm moving the audio backwards now. Are you on the dev? No, AJ, this is the latest. Yes, I am on the dev. This is the latest dev version. I updated it right before the stream, actually. So there was an update. I don't know what it was, what was in it, but man, this is. Let's go to a window here that's got a window in it. That is an incredible. I guess that's kind of hard to see the windows. That is an incredible sunrise. Remember, don't go anywhere. That's what we get to cruise out to. We're going to be dissecting a green dot vid, which we haven't done in a while. Nabil, I haven't said it yet. Look, you guys are trying to bait me into saying it. I haven't said it yet. This is not... I have not said this is real life yet. 4K, Aaron. This is 4K. 4K. When are we back in the Dukes? Ooh, Shakovic. I was going to schedule before the stream. I ran out of time. I'm thinking we do... So we're doing it this weekend. We're doing Tour de Americas this weekend. I'm shooting for a Friday PM and a Saturday... maybe normal time. So the thing is, since it's all real time, we don't want to be flying all at night. I think it would be somewhere around a 3 o'clock Central Time stream in the Duke tomorrow. We might do leg 3, and then on Saturday we'll probably do leg 4, which will end us up in Canada. And then we get another flag on our Duke. Ultra or high settings, what LOD? JJ, I have a high mix of ultra and high, and right now for this stream I have a fixed LOD of 200. I could probably turn it up now that we're in cruise, but for the sake of testing I'm going to leave this one straight at 200, just because I have to pause and do all the sim stuff. I would imagine, since I didn't see many performance issues on the ground, I bet you I could have run this at 225, 240 LOD, which is unheard of. The last time we flew the 380, I had my LOD at 150 or 160, somewhere in there. I had it way low, and it still just did not work. What is crazy though, and I didn't believe any of y'all, but now that I'm using the Adrenaline software, I tried toggling the cabin on and off. Not really a change at all in performance, so I just leave the cabin on. The cabin really didn't make too much of a difference. I think it's hard to even tell if it legitimately affects the performance. But I was toggling it back and forth, and I didn't see anything through the Adrenaline software. Chaos says it only changes perf if you're looking at it. Okay. I think Jeff Fabian runs at 400 LOD. I run all the Duke stuff, all the piston stuff, I run 300. All the Fenix stuff is 275, 300, depends on where we're going. If we're going New York, I run 275. High congested, I run a 275 for the stream because I don't have auto LOD anymore. What I'm excited to try, though, is a Duke stream with max LOD. We're just going to turn it all the way up. Jaffo, that's just the software for the GPU. So like NVIDIA has a GeForce Experience or something. Adrenaline is just the name of the AMD software. Making a latte for a green dot. Nabil, I'm excited, man. I got mine sitting right here. I'm trying not to drink it. I gotta keep drinking my water until we pop open the green dot. I couldn't get a 5080 and was considering 7900 XTX instead as I play on 1440 using AMD frame gen. Yes, I'm using AMD frame gen, JJ, and I'm about 100 FPS now that we're climbing out over nowhere. 7900 XTX, that's what I have, and I am on 1440p and streaming. I can tell you, after 2 days of testing, we've flown the 3 hardest airplanes for me to fly. Any builds 321, any builds A330, and the fly-by-wire A380. So I've been able to fly all 3 of those over the last 2 days, and as long as you don't have a crazy CPU limit or something crazy limiting your CPU, the 7900 XTX is a pretty good card, man. I've got around 1,500, 2,000 hours on Microsoft. Just switched to X-Plane 12 last week. Got it optimized. Pretty amazing. Feel incredible. Compared to Microsoft. What's your take? Graphically, got good as well. Well, Bennett, X-Plane, if you take the time, like you said, to get it optimized and get the scenery and all that stuff, you're going to enjoy it. There's no doubt about it. Since I don't sim at home, when I sim, I strictly pretty much stream and create content for y'all. I lost the desire to put all the time into making X-Plane be better than default. So for that's kind of the main reason I left. And then 2020, graphically, you just can't compete. I mean, 2020, 2024, there's no graphical comparisons. With that being said, I am getting the itch to fly the Fila 747. We'll do a night flight, so we don't have to look at any of my default terrain. Night lighting is pretty good. We might be back in the Fila 74 just for old time's sake. What settings do I use, Victor? I had them posted. It's mostly ultra and high. I want to see if I might not be able to do this right now. I'll have to post them somewhere. So what I did is before yeah. Let me save this. I'm gonna try to show you guys this without having to go to a different window and open up settings. So what I did is before I installed my new car, I took screenshots of all my Microsoft settings. And I tweaked them slightly because I don't have any of the NVIDIA stuff. Andy, I do have X-Plane on this PC. I have X-Plane 12. That's it. I have X-Plane 12. I think I have the Tolus installed. I'm going to have to buy the 747 because I don't have the Felis anymore. That was a streamer promo copy that I had when I was flying it. That's on my old PC, so unless I go get my old PC and put it on a flash drive or something, I'll just buy it again, which I don't mind. I don't mind supporting Felis and buying him buying a 7.4 because that thing is the best add-on on 20 Air and X-Plane. So good. So I can't quite do this the way I want, but if you have your settings open, I'm going to run through them real quick, top down, but I don't have my current settings I run 2K TAA. I know that. I use TAA and 2K, and then everything else is custom, and my TLOD for this flight is 200. Off-screen pre-caching is ultra, buildings ultra, trees ultra, plants ultra, rocks ultra, grass high. Objects level of detail is all the way to the right. Volumetric clouds, ultra. Texture resolution, ultra. Filtering 16x 4x4, and water waves are high. And then everything else all the way down, that settings options, is in high, except motion blur is off. and the refresh rate is medium. And then I turned all the airport traffic off. So I know it's not the optimal way of doing it, but I just was really loving this sunrise. This is a screenshot right here, Chaos. Look at that. Oh my gosh. All right, this is real life, chat. Nabil, this is real life. This is real life. Do you think we'll be able to get 380 likes for this stream? If you want to see the 380 redemption flight, maybe another 380 flight into Kennedy or something, it will only happen if this stream reaches 380 likes. If the stream does not reach 380 likes, we'll never fly the 380 again until it's been updated. Am I a joke to you? Hot Start Challenger 650. Yes, AJ, it is, because it's... AJ, here's the thing. You have... AJ, do you have the Dukes? Because the Challenger, albeit is amazing in what it does, and I really love the FBO simulation. That's cool. So I will give the Challenger the FBO simulation. That is game breaking. I've never seen anything like that in an airplane add-on. But when it comes to like for $120, you get one airplane that's fully simulated. The Dukes, for $60 or $70 to buy both of them, you get 3 variants, a turbine engine, and then 2 other engines that are to the same level of detail, in my opinion. All of them perform within like 2%, sometimes exactly to the numbers of the POH when we're looking at values and tasks and all that stuff. It's like, man, the Dukes really brought it. So is it a little overhyped maybe? I don't know. I don't know if the Chow is a little overstretched. I don't know. But it's a different market too. I understand that. I know X-Plane in general, the planes... X-Plane has really just become the new P3D. I mean, if you really think about it, X-Plane is now the new P3D with the price of add-ons, the price of scenery. The market of the available simmers in X-Plane, I think, has significantly reduced. I know there's a lot of y'all that still fly it. I built this channel on X-Plane. But I just think as a whole, with the introduction of 2020 and now 2024, I think the average simmer is... maybe not the average simmer, but let's just say the number's a lot less now. There go the likes. Yeah, I know. I thought about that after I said it. People are probably like, oh, I don't want to see the 380 again. Take the likes away. X-Plane is for you if you value physics. Yes and no, Jake. Yes and no. And I've demonstrated before on here when we took the Fenix. We took the best, in my opinion, the best of both sims. We took the Tolus. Oh, my goodness. We took the Tolus up against the Fenix. And let's just take the graphics out of the equation. There's no glaring difference in handling. The Fenix actually handles a little bit better and more and closer to the accelerate decelerate timetables of the real airplane with friction. The Tolus is actually a little bit too slick. Some drag values can be tweaked. The ground handling, X-Plane has got an issue with strong crosswinds that's even been acknowledged from the devs, and so it's not like it's just me saying it. I don't know, man. I don't really buy that argument anymore. You know, and I'm not trying. And again, it's exhausting to talk about the Sims in a combative way, and I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying, like, we've all been fed. I'm using an analogy. So in fishing, I'm a big fisherman. For decades, it's all been about, okay, will you read the magazine, right? But guess what? Fish don't read the magazine. They don't read Bassmaster magazine. So when you go out and you're like, oh, well, the fish shouldn't be shallow because the water's 34 degrees. Guess what? I just caught an 8-pounder in like 6 inches of water. Doesn't make sense. The fish don't read the book. But what happened is we had an advent of technology called LiveScope where you can now see fish in real time. And everything we've been taught to believe for the last decades, we're finding out is not true. Now, 180 that conversation and apply it to flight sim. Everything we've been told about X-Plane and Microsoft not being correct, we've all been told that since the beginning. Oh, X-Plane has got the best physics ever, period, full stop. Nothing comes close. Well, when you start doing some tests and some testing, you're like, man, maybe it's not the holy grail of physics. And I'm not by any means saying that Microsoft is the best or is 100% realistic. Let's be perfectly clear. I'm not saying Microsoft is 100% realistic either. What I am saying is that I think they're a lot closer to each other than a lot of us may think. So that's all I'm going to get off my soapbox for that. But you know what X-Plane does have? It has the Fearless 7.4, which I love. And it also has 727. X-Plane 11 does. And the Q400. Some really good airplanes on X-Plane 11. I can't get X-Plane 12 to run well on my PC. I can run 2020 at 60 FPS in high settings, but 2025 on medium low in X-Plane. That's interesting, Midwest Gamer. That's a technical question. You'd have to get into specs, and I'm not sure. And I'd be curious to see what X-Plane even runs like on with this card. I haven't fired up X-Plane in, what, 6 months? Well, that's not true. Whenever we did that stream. Oh, I can't mute my mic. That's not good. Do I fly fish? I have. I haven't in years. I used to fly fish when I was living in Arizona. How would you compare a FlyJ to FSS? Man, that's a tough comparison because I haven't flown the FlyJ in so long that I don't even know what its, you know, what its strengths are. I'd say they're pretty close. I'd say they're pretty close. In 2020, anyway. The FSS does not really function in 2024, unfortunately. All right, I got to unplug and replug my mic. This might be problematic. Hold on. Two, three. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're back. We're back. Back up with the sounds. There we go. All right, cool. All right. We have leveled off at 38,000 feet. Let's do some checks here. We got to watch a beautiful sunrise. Oscar, yeah, my monitors turn on like normal. It's amazing. It powers up my big monitor first, then it powers up the second monitor. It's great, man. For the last 2 or 3 months, I've had to unplug and replug just to get my monitor to work. I'm sure there was something in BIOS I could have changed. I'm sure, but it's just nice when I plug and play and don't have to... And I get unintended improvements, you know? It's always nice when you get unintended improvements. 2992, 1013. We'll set that. Can we go up higher? What's the wind doing? 49 knots. Let's go to the Prague. Perf Prague. Is there a Prague page? Cruise. Managed. It doesn't give you like a optimal. Oh, right there in front of my optimum 400. Let's take it up to 40. Let's go up to 40 and then we'll kick out on the green dot. 400. Thrust climb, open climb. Beautiful sunrise. I can't get enough of this view. Thumper! My man, thank you for the $5 super chat, dude. Watched your FSS E-Jet VOD a few weeks ago. I appreciate the stream and explanations you gave for its systems. Enjoy flying it even more now. Thumper, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, and I'm glad you enjoyed that video. I got a lot of flack for those videos of the FSS E-Jets. Insert AJ Funari, Turk, who's all been banned from FSS. But I enjoy them, man. I would like to see them come to 2024. I had a lot of fun flying them. They're not perfect. They don't have fully functioning VNav. I get it. They're fun to fly. They sound good. They look good. So it's like the sim debate. I have fun flying them. If you don't, good for you. Matty K, thanks for the $5 super chat, man. Curious, do you think Shimano SLX Are the Airbuses of conventional reels, assuming it? Oh, I know all about the SLX, man. Are the Airbus of conventional? Yeah, I wouldn't say SLX. I would just say DC. So anything that's got the DC. Oh, I see what you're saying. Just the S. I would say DC. The DC is the Airbus of conventional reels because you've got the digital drag. What is it? Digital something? Whatever DC stands for. The ring when you throw it out. I do have a couple DC reels. I throw a DC reel on my A rig because you throw that sucker into the wind, it can not be optimal. So that's the only reel I use the DC reel on. I do like the SLX stuff though. I actually have a couple setups that I have for the wife. She has SLX on there. But I'm super bougie when it comes to reels, Matty K. Metanium or Bantam. Yeah, Metanium, Bantam, or Aldebaran. That's what you're going to find. I got a couple Tatula Elites too. All right. Nobody else in the chat knows what I'm talking about, so we'll sequence from that. Here, look at the trailing edge view. Shimano naming scheme is roughly the same in fishing as to bicycling. Is it really? Probably. Remember that bug if you unplugged a USB will freeze and lock up? Adam, I do remember that. I do remember that. How do you typically cook the fish I catch? I don't, when I fish tournaments, so we catch and release. Now, I do like to go have a crappie fish fry or make some fish cakes. Grill them. I grill some white crappie, white bass. But the majority of my fishing is tournament related, so it's all catch and release. When is green dot time? It's about to start now because we are leveling off at 400. We'll zoom out our range. 640. Let's do some checks here. Let's go to, we're estimating Singapore, or not Singapore. I was going to do the flight to Singapore. Bangkok at 52. So we got a little over, it's about a 2-hour flight, so 2-hour and 20-minute flight, so we're looking good there. And let me go, what is ATC com not yet implemented? So, okay, so we'll leave you, I guess we'll just leave you on the FMS flight plan page. And, oh, I lowered the stirrups. Can I bring out the tray table? I thought I could bring out the tray table, Chaos. I thought we had this discussion before. Is there no click spot for the tray table? It's the pedestal underneath the table you need to click. Wow. So where you actually put your hand is what you're saying. Oh, I remember this. Trying to get this thing to unfold is like trying to perform brain surgery. There we go. Then there's a way to put a keyboard on here. Hey! Now we can do our bidding, chat. Alright. We're all set to go up there. Let's go realism mode for the flight crew. Can we do realism mode? Yeah, let's do realism mode for the flight crew. And I'll tell you what, we're going to have our green dot. Oh, it just looks so good out here, though. Let's wait for the sun to get just a little bit higher. We're going to do green dot from this view right here, so we can see the clouds out there. Let's do a cabin tour, though. Let's do a quick cabin tour, then we'll do green dot. Because I haven't been able to enjoy the 380 enough to even do a cabin tour, so I'm excited. Let's see. I guess we start on the top level, right? We're going to come on down here. Oh, no, we step right down to into the economy section. Oh, look at this livery. It's got the tie pillows. This is nice. I've never seen the inside of a Thai 380, but I imagine this is what it looks like. When is meal service? It should be starting soon, actually. I want to start an A380 flight from Miami to Heathrow, but I've been having problems with 2024. Really? Andrew P., what kind of problems, man? That's not good. Area work in progress. By More Right Rudder Mike. I love that dude. I still miss the More Right Rudder Mike texture work on the 7.4 that we had in 2020. That was the juice. Did we already go over why are the windows like this? Is it a structural thing? Where they're kind of like porthole. They remind me of the Concorde windows. Oh man, some pad thai. I could go for some Payway bourbon chicken right about now. Is Payway Thai food? You know, Payway has really gone downhill, speaking in unrelated food terms. Payway used to be awesome. Now it's kind of mid. Don't open the bathroom. I'm here and I can't lock the door. All right, Force Raptor. That's Chinese. Remember to enter the second deck from the front, not the back. Oh, okay. Man, there's a lot of seats. Could you imagine being back here for 15 hours? I saw a ghost. I swear I saw somebody walking on the aisle there. Imagine being this seat right here. This would be so brutal. Because look how far the front of the airplane is. That would be highly unenjoyable for a long period of time. Well, I don't know. These seats actually look a little bit spaced out. I don't know what the legroom is actually like. They probably have standards in Thailand for their cabins, unlike the US, where it's just, let's get as many possible seats as possible. Ferrying this plane at night? Dude, you'd be lost. I always think the same thing, Adam. I always think this. Whenever I see a 380 in flight, I'm just like, man, how is that thing flying? I parked next to a 380 on my last trip, actually. I posted in the members chat. Next to a Speedbed A380. Talk about feeling small. I was between a 380 on the left wing and a 350. Who was that 350 on the right? Was it Etihad? Etihad's the gray one, right? No, Qatar. It was a Qatari A350, that dark gray livery, which I think is really cool looking. So my tiny little 320 was between a 350 and a 380. Yes, I have seen a C5 positive rate, yeah. They're massive too. Ooh, look at this. This feels fancy. Thanks, AJ, for a $5 super chat, man. I appreciate you. It says, just remember, if you're flying from Hong Kong to Bangkok and you go to the bars for the ladies, oh, it's cheap left. Thanks, AJ, for the $5 super chat, man. Appreciate you, dude. Ooh, up here in first class. This is where it's at. Wow, that looks real. Hold on, let me do, oh, sorry, Nabil, I said it. Oh, I wish I could, because the glass is really nice. If I could, like, edit the window out, that view looks really good right there. Almost looks like real life, Nabil. Almost. Vladimir, you said you flown on time. They were good. Nice. I gotta say, I like their colors. I'm assuming that this is a realistic color scheme for the cabin, since they did it. They painted it this way. But, man, it looks good, dude. I really like it. Look, you even get your own... What do we got in there? What are we drinking today? Some stuff that I can't pronounce. That's Pepsi, but it's backwards. It's inverted. Uninstalling Chaos. Your Pepsi logo is inverted and backwards. But I guess you have to do that for copyright, right? You don't want big Coca-Cola coming after you. Or big Pepsi. Is Pep. Is Pep. Got something funny going. We got like a stained glass window over here. Yeah, this is the stained glass window side. Obviously a bug. Ooh, it gives a nice window view though. How about that? I'll zoom it out a little bit so you get a little sense of size. Come on, that looks amazing. That looks good. Oh, I know. I know it's not just finished. Just looking. ISPEP sounds like an obscure territory ECAM. Flight control. IPSEP one fault. It kind of does, actually. Integrated service pack something. Just fly the camera outside and get the belly cam? Where's the belly cam? I do like that they got rid of the collision model. Oh, here's the cargo area. Oh, whoa, look at the detail. Hello. We even got... Oh, I'm starting to lose frames in here. It's not optimized. This is where all the stowaways hide. Could you imagine trying to hide in a gear well? Gosh, it'd be so freaky. Let's go all the way down. We're analyzing the model. Man, look at the gear doors. That's actually pretty good. It looks like the tires are dirty too. Worn a little bit. That looks pretty good. All right, where's the belly view? Do they have a camera on the belly on the 380? We're gonna go backwards. Ex-Cubs fan, or Cub fan 79, man. Welcome to Private Pilot. Glad to have you on board, dude. Or Commercial Pilot, excuse me. Thank you for the support, man. Get access to shorts, videos, and additional content as a commercial pilot. I appreciate all the support. That's crazy. Let's go further back. I want to get both engines in the screen. There's a camera behind the nose gear. All right. Look at all the, like, these are probably a slew of rad out and a couple other antennas there, those little squares. I mean, that would be a pretty good gear down view. Man, I agree, Andrew. The fact that this airplane is free is pretty incredible. Well, we're going to go up to the nose. And then we're going to do a green dot here pretty soon. You should try to clip through the Fenix. They have a lot of hidden detail just waiting to be released. You know what? I haven't really done that, Chris. That's a good idea. I'm sure we'll be in the Fenix again soon because you guys continuously vote for Fenix. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I know they have a tail cam for taxiing. The sound's pretty good. It sounds nice and quiet, though. Like I imagine it would. I bet the dampening is pretty good. Jeremy, we are watching an Emirates 777 video since we're probably going to be, since the Any Builds Dubai is out, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Dubai flying with the 350. We're going to be watching a 777. How are the frame rates doing? Man, I should just leave this app up. You guys keep asking for it. Hold on. There's got to be a way I can window, or I'm going to try to application capture this. Give me a second so you can see it for your own eyes. The only problem is, in order for it to read the sim, I have to have the sim selected as my background. And then when I put it on my other monitor, it creates an issue. Let me try this. Oh, that's weird. You can't see the adrenaline software. Now if I click on it like this, you still can't see it. What if I bring it over here? That's so weird. Anyway, as far as frames are doing, let me click back on the screen here. 95. I mean, it's constantly between 90 and 100 frames. We're using 19.4 gigs of VRAM, though, just up at cruise over the water. So 19.5 gigs of VRAM over the water in cruise, doing 100 frames. Between 90 and 100 frames. It's got between, 98. Let's just call it 98 FPS. That's where it's pretty much settling on the most. Activate overlay? Nah, I don't need any of that stuff because it's only for y'all. I don't want overlays. I don't want to watch FPS. I had this discussion before. It's like, I just want to have a smooth experience, because if I have a FPS counter up, I constantly look at it, and then I constantly lose my enjoyment in the sim because I'm constantly worried about what's tanking my FPS if FPS tanks. But if you're not watching your FPS and you're getting a smooth show, who cares what your frames are? So, but yeah, I mean, you can just tell the VRAM is cooking on this thing. VRAM is cooking. But it's been smooth. It's been smooth the whole time, which I'm really happy about that. All right, I think I did an 8. We'll leave it at 8.5. We'll leave it at managed speed. Let's get into the green dot before it gets too late. So, without further ado, it's my favorite time. It's green dot time. Before I go, let me post him up here. Link you his channel. Again, if you like this kind of stuff, make sure you head over to Green Dot Aviation and give him a like, comment on the video that we're gonna watch right now. Just say, hey man, great video, or saw it on V1, good video, because I try not to watch the most recent stuff. That way we, the subscribers and stuff still get to see all the new stuff. But the fact that he's agreed to share his content with us and be able to do these green dot breakdowns is awesome. And I really like the fact that like green dot, it's the perfect content to provide commentary for, because he knows what he's talking about. He just lacks the first-hand experience of being in the airlines, which is no fun. I mean, he's going through his training right now, has become a pilot and everything, so he knows the terms and he knows what he's talking about, and then it leaves that door open for me to interject experiences and whatnot. So it wouldn't be the same if I did something like a mentor pilot video watch along or something, because I mean, he's an airline pilot, right? So he has those experiences and stuff he can comment. So green dot, it's the perfect blend of content to do these on, and I really do enjoy them. So huge shout out Green Dot Aviation for allowing us to do this. And with that said, I'm going to make sure I'm going to turn the sim down a little bit more. All right, so we just want it like you've got your ANR headset on. You're going to plug in and watch some green dot. So let's do an audio check here.
An Emirates Boeing 777 is in serious trouble on its final approach to Dubai International Airport.
Uh-oh. How's the audio? Hello from India, Mohammed. How you doing, my friend? 5x5. Let's go. All right, clear my phone out. Where's my cafe con leche? We're checked out. Let's go. So this is Emirates 521. I haven't watched this video yet. I'm trying to remember. This is something about. I think, is this about a go around? I don't know. I vaguely remember this this call sign 521. Well, I guess we'll find out here together. I have not watched this video yet, though. This is one that I have not watched. Sometimes I've watched them in the past, but this is one of the ones I have not seen at all yet. So,
300 people cling to their seats as strong gusts shake the plane, preventing it from touching down. Puzzled, the captain decides to go around. But before he can even climb 100 feet, the plane begins to drop. The passengers sense that something is amiss, but in the cockpit, the pilots know that their situation is dire. Will they be able to make it back into the air, or will they come crashing down onto the runway below with catastrophic consequences? This is the story of Emirates Flight 521.
All right, let's go. I'm juiced up. So 521 looks like a failed go-around. I didn't know they actually crashed. This is not the one I was thinking of. This sounds like they actually crashed this. So we're Emirates 777.
It was a clear summer morning in 2016 when 282 passengers boarded an Emirates Boeing 777 in Thiruvananthapuram's airport on the southern tip of India. They were bound for the airline's hub in Dubai, 3.5 hours to the northwest. The majority of the passengers were from India, but
that's the kind of 777 flying I like to do, 3 hours max.
A total of 20 different nationalities were represented on board, including some from the United Kingdom, the United States, Turkey, and my own country of Ireland, among others. For many passengers, the flight to Dubai was just a stopover on the way to their final destination. Up in the cockpit, preparing the aircraft for departure, was a 34-year-old captain. He was a UAE.
Let's take a look at his stats here. I love it when it puts these up here. We got a male captain, 34 years old. Nice. Captain 34 on a 777. Dude's doing it right, man. Shout out to this guy. ATPL. He's on the 330, 340. This is what's crazy. So he has never flown anything smaller than a 330. This is what's crazy about Europe and the UAE and how they do flying abroad. To get to 777 captain in the U.S., I guarantee you're going to have at least one narrow body type on there. Probably 2, 3, maybe even 4. You're going to have some type of regional jet, definitely some single aisle narrow body. So you're going to have a minimum of 2. Or you may have a turboprop instead of an RJ in there. But the fact that the smallest thing this guy's flown is a 330, I mean, more power to him. That's awesome. I wish that was common here. It's really not. I don't know of anybody that's got. Well, maybe there's been some. I think in the last couple of years during COVID, there was some craziness going on where people were getting 7.5, 7.6 out of initial, but they were still flying narrow body stuff before then. So even then, crazy. VFD, welcome to Commercial Pilot, man. Thank you for the subscription. Or no, that's not VFD. The Virtual Flight Dispatch. Thank you. Welcome to Commercial Pilot.
National, who had been with Emirates for 15 years. He joined the airline's cadet program in 2001, before starting as a first officer on the Airbus A380 in 2004. He began his training on the 777
He's got some experience for sure.
And was promoted to captain in 2015. By this point, he had logged more than 7,000 total hours, over 5,000 of which were on the 777. The captain had been described by colleagues as being a very competent pilot who had settled well into the left seat and who set a nice tone on the flight deck. He would be flying the aircraft for this flight.
That's a big one, and that's also a positive to being a captain. That's like when I always tell people that they've been in the right seat and they're getting ready to upgrade, they're going to upgrade, you know, what do you expect or what's it like? The best part about being a captain is being able to set the tone for your flight deck, for that flight, for that trip, whatever it may be, if you're staying together on a multi-day pairing. When you're not the captain, you're always kind of subject to how the captain is going to be when you show up as the first officer, right? So it's always like, man, is this captain going to be cool? Is he not? But being the captain, you get to set the tone, and as long as you're not an a-hole, it's, you know, it's a happy. But there are captains that are not that way, so it's good to hear that this guy was a good tone setter.
While the first officer monitored the aircraft and handled the radios. That first officer was 37-year-old Australian national Jeremy Webb. Webb was a rather recent hire at Emirates, having joined the airline 2 years previously. In that time, he had built up over 1,200 hours on the 777, making up a not insignificant portion of his almost 9,000 total hours.
Got a lot of flight time. He's older than the captain, which happens. Older than the captain, right seat, 1,200 hours on the 777. I mean, it's plenty of time. So both highly experienced. His type is only 777 and 78. Golly, that's wild. Your only types, 777 and 78. Crazy stuff, man. Key 6, I know, right? But yeah, looks like you have a relatively, I mean, shoot, they both have almost 9,000 hours flight time. These are experienced crew members here.
Which was more experienced than the captain. Webb was described as being a competent pilot, with no significant negative comments made by his evaluators during training. The two pilots had never flown together, but they had flown this route before. They were well rested, and both had a spotless safety record. Along with the two pilots and 282 passengers were 16 flight attendants, bringing the grand total to 300 people on board.
It's pretty light for a 777, or is that pretty light for a 777? I feel like it could fit a lot more than that. I guess not. 300 is pretty good.
At around 9:30 local time, the doors were closed and the giant aircraft was pushed back from the gate. The passengers had every reason to think that they were in safe hands, with two experienced pilots at the helm and an airline which had never lost a single aircraft since it first started operating in 1985. But on this day, the unprecedented would happen, as the aircraft made its final approach to Dubai. After a short taxi, Flight 521 lined up on the runway. The captain pushed the massive engines to take off thrust, and within a few moments, the plane was airborne.
I hit the Toga button. Oh, no, I screwed up my zoom view. There we go.
Not long after takeoff, the captain engaged the autopilot. It would stay in control of the plane until just a few minutes before landing. The pilots climbed straight up to the cruising altitude of 36,000 feet and continued out over the crisp blue Arabian Sea. As the plane climbed, the cabin crew went down the aisles serving food and drinks. The atmosphere was calm on what was one of the shorter routes in the airline's vast network. A few hours later, Flight 521 was flying over Oman, and almost reaching the point where it could begin its descent into Dubai. It was now time for the captain to brief the first officer on the approach and landing. The pilots got hold of the latest weather report in Dubai, and it wasn't looking good. Even though it was a clear day in terms of clouds, there was reduced visibility due to dust, and the wind was unpredictable. Given the variable wind conditions, the captain decided to brief an approach both onto runway 12 left and the opposite direction runway 30 left at Dubai.
Interesting. We typically just brief one runway. You just brief the landing that or the runway you're going to plan on. You may hit some highlights, be like, hey, if we got to flip runways around, I can either have you brief it, or the biggest difference is this, yada yada. I don't know how they do briefings at Emirates. It's different every airline you go to. Generally speaking, the shorter your briefing is, the more you're going to retain. Like if you rumble on about 10 minutes about briefing this and the type of lighting and this and that, and then you brief another runway, you're just talking to yourselves at that point. I think the retention is like 45 to 90 seconds. But briefing up 2 runways
Planes
here.
almost always land and take off into the wind. The reason for this is that it uses less runway, giving the pilots more space if something goes wrong. On this afternoon, as the captain briefed the approach, the wind was coming from a direction of 110 degrees at a speed of 15 knots. This was basically a perfect headwind.
Right down the pipe, baby. That's what we call it. Right down the pipe.
The pilots had calculated the landing speed of the plane to be 147 knots on this day. If there was no wind, an airspeed of 147 knots would mean a ground speed of 147 knots on touchdown. But with this afternoon's 15-knot headwind, on touchdown, Flight 521 would have an airspeed of 147 knots, but a ground speed of 132 knots. And it's a lot easier to stop a plane travelling at 132 knots than it is to stop one travelling at 147 knots.
10-15 knot difference there. Yeah, it's going to impact your landing, your rollout distance there for sure.
As it would be if there were no wind. Now just flip the situation for a tailwind. An airspeed of 147 knots
that would be
plus
tight
a
on a tailwind
of 15 knots gives a ground speed on touchdown of 162 knots. This is very fast and would require the plane to use a lot more runway to stop.
I don't know what the tailwind limitation is on a 777. I'm assuming it's going to be 15 knots if they land with a tailwind. On our Airbus, it's 10 knots. So 15 knot for takeoff, 10 knot for landing is our limitation. Outside of 10 knots, can't land with the tailwind. And that readout is what you're getting either from tower or what you're reading off as on your ND as you're on short final. So get a wind check. That's the most accurate way to get a wind readout. You just say wind check when you're on final, and the tower will read back winds. You don't have to say a call sign or anything. You literally just key up the mic, say wind check. Typically, Delta does that every landing. So
for this reason, planes are tightly restricted in terms of how strong a tailwind they can land with. For the 777, this limit is 15 knots.
See,
to give a
so
sense of
15.
how strict this really is, the limit for crosswinds is 40 knots. So, the pilots, in conjunction with air traffic control, would try their best to land on whichever runway had a headwind. On this afternoon, this would not be easy to arrange. A wind shear warning had just been issued by the country's National Meteorological Centre, which reported moderate wind shear for all runways at Dubai.
Whenever there's a wind shear report in the ATIS, I always brief the wind shear escape recovery maneuver. Jeremy, I noticed you said that Mentor always says do a comprehensive brief. It's been changed multiple times, man, for us. Like we used to do these long, drawn-out briefings, and then we've shortened them up. And the studies show, at least for us in the States here, that the shorter the brief, the better. Now, with that said, it does not mean to not do a comprehensive review of the approach, and anything that you're briefing should be the highlights or anything abnormal. So we're going to be landing with a 10-knot tailwind. That's right at their limit. You just monitor the ND. I'll maybe get a wind check for us at like 200 feet. We'll make a decision from there. Or, hey, there's wind shear on this approach. I'm going to brief the wind shear escape recovery just to remind ourselves, because it's not something you do every day. So when you don't do something every day, then it would be definitely a benefit to brief it in that scenario, such as wind shear. So, hey, wind shear, I'm going to do Toga, command bars, follow the escape guidance. You're going to read out rad altitudes up and down, yada, yada, just so we're on the same page. And I always say this. Whenever there's a wind shear and I highlight it, I say, just as a reminder, we will not change configuration in a wind shear, because there's a big difference between a wind shear, go around wind shear, and go around. like a go-around flaps. So if you're going around, because you're going around with traffic or whatever, it's go around flaps, positive rate, gear up. You are changing the configuration. In the wind shear escape recovery for the Airbus, you do not change configuration. So if you're going around because of wind shear, you don't want to start yanking flaps and gear up. That's a big no-no. So just keep that in mind. Let's see what happens.
Shear is a sudden change in wind speed or direction over a short distance. It poses a serious threat to aircraft of all sizes, and if the pilots of Flight 521 encountered it during their approach to the runway, they would need to go around immediately. Because Dubai is situated on the coast, it is vulnerable to wind shear arising from a sea breeze.
Looks like he needs an XTX so he can turn up his T-log.
The sea breeze forms during the day, when the sun heats the land faster than it heats the sea. The air over the land gets heated, and as a result, it rises. When it rises, the air over the sea swoops in to take its place. Sea breezes can be very strong during the summer, and can blow at speeds of up to 50 kilometers an hour, or 27 knots. So, expecting that wind shear might be a problem on the approach, the captain briefed the wind shear escape maneuver with the first officer.
Perfect, just like we talked about.
The maneuver called for the pilot flying, which in this case was the captain, to press the takeoff go-round button on the throttle levers, check that Toga mode was active on the flight mode annunciator, confirm that the throttles advanced to go-round power, retract the speed brakes, monitor the aircraft's performance, and not raise the landing gear or flaps until wind shear was no longer a factor.
So it seems like a very similar procedure to the 320, to the narrow body configuration, right? Just go around, wind shear go around. It's actually, the call is wind shear Toga. You don't press anything, you literally just firewall the thrust levers. You firewall them up forward, boom, it goes into SRS. If you have a wind shear detected, you'll see you have wind shear on the PFD, your flight directors are automatically going to direct you, as a flight director, it's going to direct you into the most optimal recovery pitch. So it's going to maintain your max all the way up to max AOA. So the Airbus is a very I don't want to say easier, but for the lack of a better term in a long discussion, the Airbus is pretty simple in a wind shear go-around. You firewall the thrust levers, and you put the flight director in the command bars. That's it. And you hang on. So spoilers will automatically retract. Anything if the spoilers are out, they'll automatically retract. Which a 777 will too, I believe.
The procedure also dictated that in the case of severe wind shear, the pilot must be ready to manually push the throttles to go-around power rather than trusting the autopilot to do it.
That's interesting.
During the maneuver, the pilot monitoring, in this case
Thanks,
First
Chaos.
Officer Webb,
Smart is the
was
correct
required
word.
to ensure that maximum thrust had been set, to verify that all of the required actions had been completed, and to call out any omissions by the captain. With the briefing complete, Flight 521 began its descent towards Dubai.
So
the passenger
kind of hit that. So it's important that the first officer or whoever the pilot monitoring is in a wind shear actually has a pretty important job too, because they are, I don't know what their SOP is at Emirates, but for us, and a common SOP for everybody throughout that I know in the U.S. anyway, is that pilot monitoring is going to be reading the rad out trends. So are you climbing? What is your so you're at 1,000 feet descending, 800 feet descending, 600 feet descending. The hair on the back of your neck starts to stand up. 300 feet descending, 400 feet climbing. Because I've been through a handful of wind shears, and I've talked about this before. I've been like deathly scared in an airplane 3 times. One of which was a hardcore wind shear out of Indianapolis, and it is the most helpless, gut-sinking feeling that you're going to get. So when you are full Toga and that airplane is not performing, it's not awesome. So that what the first officer is doing is monitoring what's happening, and that's important because when you exit the wind shear, you are going to be rapidly increasing speed, rapidly increasing altitude, and this is where overstressing of the airframe can happen because you still got the gear out, you got the flaps full, you're in Toga thrust. So if you do not know when to recover, and the first officer, I keep saying first officer, but in this case, the pilot monitoring is not on the A game with, oh, hey, we're out of the wind shear, you're going to rapidly accelerate through the structural limitations on the drag that's hanging out from the airplane. So pilot monitoring has an important role in this as well.
Passengers were unaware of all of this as they fastened their seatbelts and settled in for landing. All they knew was that it was a bit gusty at their destination and scorching hot. Many of the passengers wouldn't even be entering Dubai, however. They would just be waiting in the airport for the next flight. So the weather would be irrelevant for them, they figured.
Take it easy,
The
KS,
captain
man.
entered into the flight management system the plane's flap configuration and touchdown speed. Flight 521 will be landing with flaps 30, a final approach speed of 152 knots, and a touchdown speed of 147 knots. The pilots were given the latest wind information, which had them touching down with a 13-knot tailwind. This was just below their limit of 15 knots, but even though it was close to the allowable limit, it didn't pose a threat to safety. Dubai has a very long runway, measuring 12,000 feet, and both
Plenty of runway, so you're on the limit. That's you take that into your consideration, right? We're landing on a long runway, so should be fine. Tyson, yeah, positive rate and a positive, we actually call it positive trends. So you would consider yourself recovered from a wind shear, positive trend in airspeed, positive trend in altitude. That would be considered recovered from the scenario.
both pilots were well accustomed to landing there. But wind shear from a sea breeze wasn't the only problem the pilots were anticipating on landing. The temperature at Dubai on this afternoon was a staggering 48 degrees Celsius. That's 118 degrees in American English.
Ugh.
The problem with temperatures
That's hot.
like this
Las Vegas,
is that
baby.
pockets of heat, known as thermals, begin bubbling up from the hot ground, especially from surfaces which heat quickly, like runways and taxiways. This can itself cause wind shear, and even when it doesn't, it can threaten the stability of an aircraft on final approach. Despite how practiced they were, the pilots would need to keep their wits about them on this approach to Dubai. As they descended, they began discussing their previous encounters with wind shear. The first officer said that he had experienced it on descent 3 months previously, and the captain added that he had experienced it 2 months previously, in June, but that it turned out well as they had just carried out a go-round as normal. But as is often the case when humans interact with complex systems,
Take it easy, Zach. We'll
it is
see you,
not
man.
a singular factor like maintaining control of the plane in a wind shear event that posed the biggest threat here. Rather, it was the particular and unforeseen ways in which different elements would coincide, creating a problem where one didn't even need to exist. In this case, the main problem had not to do with the weather, but with how the pilots had been trained to use the plane's automation. The crew
Might get into some Boeing automation here for wind shear. This is interesting. I have not seen. I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know about this one. That's not the one I was thinking of.
pressed on, getting ready for their approach to runway 12 left. As helpful as it is to have up-to-date weather information from the airport's weather instruments, pilots often rely on reports from other pilots to get a sense of the real conditions
pilot
as they
report.
approach an airport. This would have been especially useful on this afternoon. As Flight 521 descended, an Iraqi Airways Boeing 737 had landed on runway 12 left, with the pilots reporting light to medium wind shear on short final. A few minutes after that, 2 planes ahead of Flight 521 had gone around due to the wind.
All right, so that's the best information that you can get from a pilot is if you're coming down on approach or getting ready to take off. If you get a pilot report from somebody who just flew through that same airspace, boom, that's the best, most accurate information you can rely on. So when you get the information that they're taking off or this guy landed 10 knot loss, 10 knot gain, you can then take that information and adjust your performance if required or if necessary, and you can at least expect it. So the last time I remember doing this was on that one of my trips out to San Jose a couple months ago, and we're flying in. They're like, last aircraft reported loss of 15 knots at 300 feet or something. And I was like, okay, so we're coming down. We added some VAP speed to our perf. We ended up getting the loss. It wasn't a full wind shear, but we ended up getting a nice loss of airspeed there. We were fine. Airplane handled just fine. No big deal. My pilot report, when I did, I said, yeah, we definitely lost. It's right over the building. So if you're familiar with San Jose landing, 1-2 right? Or 1-2 left, rather. You're coming, there was like a big-time burble effect. The Santa Ana winds were blowing, or maybe it was during the atmospheric river, I can't remember. Whatever it was, crazy winds in California. And right as you were approaching on the approach, as you got close to the buildings on final, it just got extremely turbulent, and there was definite loss of airspeed. So, give out an accurate pilot report. Yeah, I agree. We lost 15 knots there pretty much as you're coming over the buildings around 300 feet. Give the guy behind you a heads up. So pilot reports are the best reports that you can get. They're the most accurate and timely most of the time, unless you get an old pirate.
However, because they were on the Dubai Tower frequency rather than the approach frequency, the pilots of Flight 521 were not aware of this. What's more, the pilots of these planes didn't tell the controllers why they had carried out missed approaches.
Oh.
As a result, the controllers didn't tell Flight 521 that multiple aircraft were now going around due to wind shear.
Okay, that's a big problem. So, number one, when you go around the States, it drives me nuts. They're always asking you, say, reason for the go-around. I'm like, hey, calm down, Tiger. We're doing, 1,500 feet a minute here in a 321 at 200 feet trying to climb up. I'll get to you when I get to you. The controllers are always asking state reason for go-around. Wind shear, unstable, too fast, whatever. So, kind of surprising they didn't ask. Swiss cheese, right? We're lining up the Swiss cheese. The pilots that were reporting going around and on wind shear were on a different frequency, so they don't hear it. So there's another Swiss cheese lineup. And then for some reason, the tower not telling the approaching aircraft that other aircraft are going around because of wind shear. That is very surprising and just not a good situation to be in. So we've got the Swiss cheese holes lining up right there. I guarantee you if they knew someone was going around, they probably would have maybe done something different or maybe been more. Who knows? I don't know the outcome of this, but that's just not awesome that that happened that way and nobody told the crew.
Was that the pilots now had an incomplete picture of the situation at the airport. Nonetheless, pilots are supposed to be ready for a missed approach for every landing they do, and the pilots of Flight 521 had briefed this procedure for runway 12 left earlier on, which involved, among other things, climbing to 3,000 feet. Within a few minutes, Flight 521 was handed off to Dubai Tower. In front of them were two 777s, which landed without any issue. The aircraft was now just over 1 minute from the runway. The pilots lowered the landing gear, armed the spoilers on the wings, and set the flaps to 30 degrees. Spoilers are panels on the wings that pop up when the plane touches down. They're extremely useful in helping the plane to slow down, because not only do they dramatically reduce the amount of lift that the wings produce, but by deflecting the fast oncoming air upwards, they push the plane down onto the runway, making the wheel brakes more effective. By putting the speed brakes in the armed position, the pilots had ensured that when the wheels touch down, or more specifically, when weight is detected on the main wheel sensors, the speed brake handle automatically moves to the fully extended position without the pilots needing to do anything.
Yeah, he needs some anti-aliasing, doesn't he, Joe Planes? Yeah, so interesting setup there, kind of similar to the Airbus, right? Auto deploys the spoilers and all that. So let's see who had that question. If an engine reports high wind shear on landing, would you be able to hold? Yeah, you can hold. You can go. You can not opt not to do the approach. Generally, on approach, you're probably going to continue. You're going to either accept like a performance hit, so maybe you'll bump your VAP speed up to the maximum or whatever it may be, and at least attempt to fly the approach and get through it, because wind shears typically don't last very long, a couple minutes, with an expectation to go around. Now, where you will hold more commonly is on the ground for takeoff. So if there's a wind shear report and there's another high risk factor that we like to call them, so you got wind shear and it's hot out, or you got wind shear and it's hot outside. There's two risk factors. Let's go ahead and hold. Or there's a wind shear report on this specific runway, then I'm just not going. If it's on a crossing runway or a different runway, you got to look for the high risk factors before you make a decision. But generally, you're going to hold like on a departure for wind shear more so than on approach. Because if you're on approach, probably just going to shoot the approach with the expectation of, okay, we're going to probably fly into this, we're going to go around, but at least give it a shot, right? There's no sense in breaking off for no reason and burning fuel for no reason if maybe the wind shear has already ceased and you get to land. It's more of a threat. I say it's more of a threat. In my opinion, a wind shear is actually more of a threat to an airplane taking off, because you are as close to the ground as you're going to be. You get a wind shear right at rotation speed, that to me is worst case scenario. Whereas if you're on approach at 1,000 feet, 500 feet, 200 feet, you're still 200 feet ahead of the game as opposed to wheels coming off the ground, right? So wind shear on takeoff, gonna hold. On approach, let's shoot the approach with the expectation of going around.
With the landing gear down and locked, speed brakes armed, and flaps set, the 777 was fully set up for landing. The first officer set the missed approach altitude of 3,000 feet on the autopilot panel, both as a reminder of what the missed approach altitude was, and so it would already be set for the autopilot to climb to if they used it for a missed approach. The controller cleared Flight 521 to land,
it's nice scenery he's got
to exit
there.
the runway via taxiway Mike 9 after landing. The controller also gave them a wind report of 340 degrees at 11 knots. 340 degrees was behind the pilots,
Quadrant
so
tailwind.
they now knew that they would be landing with a tailwind. However, 11 knots.
Worst case scenario for wind on landing is a quartering tailwind. That's the worst spot.
Was still within safe limits. Their tailwind limit was 15 knots. But what neither the pilots nor the controller knew was that as Flight 521 approached the runway, the sea breeze front had reached the middle of the runway. So, while there was a tailwind at the touchdown zone for runway 12 left, at the other end of the runway, there was a headwind.
Wow, this is very interesting. So this is, you can see what's going on here. So you have conflicting wind reports on either side of the runway because you got the sea breeze front and the cool air and all that, and it's creating its own wind shear. That's a very unique scenario.
Two winds met right in the middle of the runway, and this was about to play a crucial role in what would now happen. At 38 minutes past 12, the aircraft descended through 1,000 feet. The captain turned the autopilot off and began flying manually towards the runway.
All right.
He left the auto throttle engaged, though, in case he wanted to use it for a go-round.
I thought Emirates, if you turned off the autopilot, you had to turn the auto throttle on. Or that's someone else. That's British Airways. Never mind, disregard. So he's got the auto throttle on, and he's hand flying the airplane disconnected 1,000 feet. Good call. That's what I would do. I turn, whenever there's wind shear or really gusty winds, I hand fly sooner than later. I actually turn the autopilot off. As soon as if the workload permits, and I'm getting vectored to final, turn the autopilot off, I'll just hand fly it, or at the very least before glide slope intercept. That way I know what's happening with the airplane on a personal level than just letting the autopilot manage it, right? So you can really connect with what the wind effects are on the aircraft when you're hand flying it. So it's better to get an idea earlier on than just connect the autopilot at 200 feet and then figure out what the wind's doing and try to land it and not smash it. So, yeah, pretty standard. 1,000 feet, auto throttle on is standard for 777. That's right, Felix, that's right. So, all right, let's see what happens here.
The auto throttle was in speed mode, set to maintain the desired approach speed of 152 knots. When the aircraft was just a few feet above the runway, the engines would switch to idle. So far, the approach was, in industry jargon, stabilized, meaning that the captain was flying no more than 5 knots below his target approach speed, or no more than 10 knots above, that he was within half a dot of the glide path, and descending at less than 1,000 feet per minute.
Green Dot forgot to arm the approach because his flight director is not on the approach. He must be in altitude hold mode. But yeah, everything else looks good.
Neither pilot was expecting to carry out a go-round. They had heard wind shear warnings many times in Dubai's weather reports without actually encountering it. And besides, they had heard no reports from controllers of any aircraft carrying out missed approaches or encountering wind shear. In the pilots' minds, the more likely issue would come from thermals, with the runway temperature now scorching 68 degrees Celsius or 154 degrees Fahrenheit. Things could get a little bumpy as they approached the airport.
Thermals, that's a big one. Summertime flying, that's a good conversation too as we go into the summer now. Well, I guess we say go into the summer. Spring's around the corner. It's going to get hot before you know it. But yeah, you start flying in these really hot days. You go over the asphalt. Blacktop gets real hot, throws up the thermals. Can destabilize your approach real quick when you come over that threshold, especially if you're approaching, say, over water or desert or trees, and then the last, little bit is right over blacktop. You'll feel that thermal kick up right as you're getting ready to round out and flare, and it can destabilize you a little bit, catch you off guard if you're not paying attention. It's nothing severe or serious, but it's enough to kind of like, okay, here we go, got to restabilize and then touch down.
As pockets of warm air bubbled up from the surface. When they reached 400 feet above the ground, the aircraft's computerized voice called out minimums, telling the pilots that they were now at their decision height. The captain announced landing.
All right, here we go.
The captain was now switching his attention between the runway out his windscreen and his instruments. The first officer was looking inside, ensuring that the plane remained stabilized. It was his job to offer corrections if necessary, or warn if anything unusual occurred. And indeed, as they descended through 190 feet, the first officer called 16 knots tailwind. He was telling the captain that the tailwind strength had increased beyond their limit of 15 knots. But seconds later, he announced that the tailwind had decreased to 13 knots, which the captain acknowledged. They were back on track. After
you touched down, hey, what'd you see on landing? 15 knots, Captain.
Back to land. The plane was now just 100 feet above the ground. 100. The captain was aiming for the large white strips here, which marked the beginning of the touchdown zone. But the wind
hold on,
had
I want to
other
go back
things
to
in
that real
store
quick.
For Flight 521, for the large white strips here.
So let's go ahead and there's a lot of confusion, not confusion, but there's a lot of terms, and I'm guilty of this too, that are not interchangeable for touchdown zone. So let's go over runway markings. the piano keys, which just it makes me cringe inside when I hear piano keys. This is the threshold. Okay, this is the threshold. You got the runway identifier, 1-2 left. You have touchdown marker, aiming marker, or aiming point is the technical term, or people say 1,000 footers, but they are 1,000 feet, but they're aiming markers. Touchdown zone marker, touchdown zone marker, touchdown zone marker. End of touchdown zone, right? There's no piano keys, there's no refrigerators, there's no boxes, there's no float zone, all right? That is the standard. This is be a displaced threshold because we got a displaced threshold prior to the threshold, all right? Those are the technical terms of the runway markings there.
Which mark?
Anybody know what these yellow stripes mean here going off to the side? These are significant. It's not just for fun. There's a reason for these yellow stripes here.
The beginning of the touchdown zone.
What about the butter slide?
But the wind had other things in store for Flight 521. The tailwind was getting weaker, causing the plane's airspeed to increase. With more air now going over the wings, they generated more lift. This, in turn, made the plane's descent more shallow. As the air
curved so you can hit perfectly. I'll wind it back so it was this time. So it actually means non-weight bearing. So all of the pavement at an airport is weight bearing where aircraft will taxi. Where it is not weight or load bearing, you'll see those yellow stripes. So that were to mean if you taxi off of this runway and you go into the dirt, it's most likely that you'll probably collapse the asphalt around the edges too because they are not weight bearing. So anytime you see those long yellow lines there on any part, that is a non-weight bearing piece of pavement. Harrison Ford guiding points. That's a good one. Tyson, take it easy, my man. We'll see you.
Descent more shallow. As the aircraft descended through 50 feet,
improvised
computers disabled several warnings, because at this point, pilots are committed to landing. Importantly, among the warnings disabled was the wind shear alert.
Okay, so wind shear is disabled.
At 40 feet above the runway, the captain started to flare the aircraft by lifting the nose up just enough to slow the plane's descent for a smooth landing.
He's right there.
Ideally, he would have begun this flare about 20 to 30 feet above the runway, rather than at 40 feet. But an extra 10 feet usually isn't a big deal. However, this wasn't about to be a usual landing. As the headwind continued getting stronger, the plane's airspeed kept increasing. Again, to distinguish between airspeed and ground speed, airspeed is what makes a plane fly. If a plane is standing still on a runway and the wind is blowing towards it at 10 knots, its airspeed is 10 knots, even though its ground speed is 0. More headwind means more airspeed, which means more lift, which means a slower descent. Flight 521 now began to float less than 30 feet above the runway, coasting right over the 1,000-foot markers, the point where it should have touched down.
Yeah, that's it. 1,000-foot markers. Good job, Green Dot.
The plane's airspeed had now increased to 158 knots, 11 knots above its target approach speed. As it neared the runway,
floated out,
the auto throttle went from speed mode
He's floating out
to
for butter.
mode, and the engines moved back towards idle. At just 13 feet above the runway, the headwind suddenly got stronger.
Oh my gosh, he's right there.
But the pilots weren't paying attention to their airspeed, and they didn't notice this. This headwind pushed the plane's airspeed up to 165 knots, 18 knots above its target touchdown speed. This was wind shear. But because the aircraft was below 50 feet, the wind shear warning didn't sound. With the aircraft...
That's correct. So there is a wind shear is inhibited, same with like TAs and RAs and all that stuff. So 50 feet, wind shear is inhibited.
Aircraft now barely descending, the pilots were under the mistaken impression that they were encountering thermals, hot pockets of air rising up from the runway. The plane was now barely 10 feet above the runway, with the main wheels gliding along, just waiting to make contact with the ground. Every second that the plane stayed...
Yeah, so he's just flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator is essentially what he's doing. He's float simulator here.
Flying, it ate...
Maybe he's flying the Captain Sim instead of the PMDG, and he's used to floating it.
Up precious runway that it could be using to land and stop. The runway behind it was getting longer and longer, and the runway ahead of it shorter and shorter.
So when you exit the touchdown zone, depending on your SOP, which pretty much everybody has an SOP, you're not supposed to land. So if you exceed the last aiming, well, not the last aim, let me use proper term. If you exceed the last touchdown zone marker, it's really hard to see. It's that single white stripe. It's a single white stripe similar to the aiming marker, but thinner. These are all spaced at 500 feet apart, by the way, on a proper runway with proper markings. They're 500 feet apart. If you pass that last marker and your airplane's not on the ground, you're probably going to be going around because you're now going to be landing long. You're outside of the touchdown zone. Now, at night, this is a little bit different because at night, depending on the type of runway and the lighting configuration on that runway, if you have touchdown zone lighting, the lights will actually extend a little bit past that last aiming marker. So you get a little bit more buffer with the lights on at night, typically. But generally speaking, in daytime, you go past that last marker, you probably should be going around. Now, there is also... situations are situational, right? If you're landing on the longest runway in the world, then you touch down literally at that last marker or just past that last marker. Is it safer to just roll out and land, or is it safer to go around and do low altitude, high power, and all that stuff? Situations are situational. I have a story exactly relating to something like this, which maybe I'll get to in a later video. Maybe I podcasted. I think I podcasted. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, these guys are floating it out.
This already bad state of affairs was about to get a lot worse. In the next few seconds, an incredibly unfortunate series of events was about to unfold, which would endanger the lives of everyone on board the flight. The wind suddenly shifted, causing the plane to roll slightly to the left. To correct this, the captain rolled the plane back to the right. But the plane was now so low to the ground that this simple input caused the right main wheels to touch the ground. When this happened, the speed brakes deployed, before quickly retracting back to their armed position as soon as the gear lifted off again.
Whoa, so
soft was this contact
that
the pilots didn't even know they had touched the ground. Buoyed by an ever-increasing headwind, the plane seemed completely unwilling to touch down. The captain lowered the nose, trying to bring his plane onto the runway, but it simply kept on floating. The captain was experiencing tunnel vision. If he had looked at his radio altimeter, he would have...
I guarantee you nobody is looking at their radio altimeter when they're flaring. That's a flight simulator thing. That's a content creator thing. Oh, let's look at the radio altimeter for butters. You are eyes outside. If you drop your eyes into the radio altimeter when you're actively in the flare, you're not doing it right. It's outside visual references. So he's not going to look at that. I don't know anybody that would. And to be able to think about that, not saying that it's not viable information, you could. I mean, if but in the heat of the moment, you're not going to look down and, oh, look, my radio altimeter is hovering at 6 feet. I must be getting a wind shear. Probably not going to happen. Remember, this is all slow motion and drawn out, too, for cinematic purposes. So this is probably happening much faster, real time, real speed. Tunnel vision is a real thing here.
Seen that he was mere feet above the ground. All he needed to do was to give the control column one more nudge forwards, and the plane would settle on the runway.
That's fine. Just lower the nose, man.
His attention was outside.
Get it down.
Suddenly, the plane sent out a warning.
Oh!
This told the pilots that they had flown more than 33% down the runway, well past the point where they should have touched down. This warning meant that the pilots had to go around. The captain pressed the Toga button, telling the auto throttle to advance the throttle.
All right, so let's take this. Take a situational event set from this here real quick. So, what is that? ROPS? I can't remember. We have it on some of our airplanes. Long landing. I don't know the situation, so I'm not, or I don't know the data and everything. But let me interject this. If your landing data says that you need 7,000 feet to stop with your additive, okay, in the worst case scenario, so maybe your actual landing distance is somewhere around 5,000 feet, and you still have like 12. Well, the runway's 12,000 feet long, so you have 7,000 feet, and you just touched down. What are you going to do? Are you going to go around, or are you going to just land long and stop? Now, when you don't have RAS, that's what it is, RAS, that decision is easier to make because you don't have somebody yelling at you in your ear. But when RAS goes off, long landing, that's going to be a trigger. Okay, full send, let's go around. Not saying right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just saying this is an added factor that we're throwing in. We want to automate everything. We want to have alerts for everything. What's more dangerous? Going around in a wind shear in high density altitude, well, I guess it's really not their sea level. What's more dangerous, going around wind shear when you are literally maybe 3 feet outside of the long landing touchdown zone, or just putting it down, stopping well short from the end, and having to file out paperwork because you landed long? I'm not saying which one is right. I'm not advocating for one or the other. I'm just saying these are scenarios that happen, and you have to make a decision instantly. And with the introduction of RAS, it adds another level of complexity to every situation. So I'm just going to say that.
To go around power.
Okay, so we're in the go round.
He still believed that hot air rising up from the runway.
He's still doing the right thing. He hasn't done anything wrong here. He tried to land, couldn't land.
Without any reports of
we're
wind
going
shear
around.
from air traffic control or
Still
other
hasn't
pilots,
done anything wrong.
This wasn't exactly a far-fetched conclusion, but the fact was that the massive increases in airspeed, which showed up on his instruments, could only have come from wind shear. Nonetheless, operating under this false impression, the captain now began carrying out the normal go-around procedure, rather than the wind shear escape maneuver.
Okay, remember we talked about that earlier. We said there's a difference between wind shear escape and regular go-around. Regular go-around, we do configuration changes. So this is it. This is Swiss cheese, right? We're Swiss cheese. We've already had all the reports that weren't reported to the pilots. Their wind shear is inhibited below 50 feet. They're encountering a wind shear. They don't know they're in a wind shear. Now they're going around because RAS is telling them to go around, even though they literally touched the run. They literally touched down prior to being long, but they just didn't feel it. So now RAS is saying long landing. They execute a go around, a non-wind shear go around. If RAS didn't yell in their ear that it was a long landing, do you think maybe they would have deducted from the situation that, hey, we must be in a wind shear because we can't get her down. Let's just go wind shear, go around. Or was it they heard long landing, immediate, let's go around, and I floated out. Normal go around. I don't know. Complexity. So we're in the go around. Let's see what happens.
And this was where a gap in the pilot's training would now come into play. While the captain had conducted 54 go-rounds at an altitude of at least 50 feet above the ground in the simulator, neither he nor the first officer had ever conducted a go-round below 50 feet.
Really?
In the sim or in real life.
So we do bulk landings in our
sims. This was simply a scenario that they were not familiar with. And the reason this mattered was that a critical safety feature in the 777's automation would now lay a trap for the pilots.
Go Boeing.
They didn't know that during their landing attempt, both main wheels had touched the ground twice. When this happened, the Toga switch, the switch the captain would then use to command the autothrottle to provide go-around thrust, was disabled. Boeing had cleverly designed it this way to prevent pilots from carrying out a go-around when they were already on the ground. This feature...
That's dumb. That's dumb. What if you're touched down and then there's a vehicle, or you see somebody at the far end not hold short and you go around? You're telling me you can't hit the Toga button? Now, granted, you should probably just shove the thrust levers forward, right? But I just think that's why. I don't know. Or there should be more. It should be more than to disable it. It should be more than just a touchdown. It should be one reverser deployed, thrust levers at idle, or maybe it can be inhibited once the speed brakes to fully deployed and you press the button. Now it's inhibited. I don't know. But, Boeing doing Boeing things here. It's a trap. It's a perfect trap because the pilots have done nothing wrong here.
Feature was noted, though not very well, in the pilot's training manual. However, during the captain's initial and recurrent training, it was not emphasized.
That's interesting.
What all of this meant was that when he pressed the Toga button, the throttles stayed right where they were, at idle. As far as the plane was concerned, it was landing. And as far as the pilots were concerned, they were going around.
All right, so you got a plane doing one thing and you got pilots doing another.
The plane began climbing. Neither pilot noticed that their engine instruments very clearly showed the engines to be at idle. They also didn't notice on their primary flight displays that the autothrottle was still in idle mode, when it should have been at Toga.
What's the first call out when you go around? Man Toga, SRS, go around track. Man Toga means manual thrust, where Toga is selected. I don't know what the FMA command is in the 777, but I imagine it's somewhere similar, Toga or something like that. You see idle up there? Not good. So I don't want to. I'm not trying to Monday morning quarterback. We're just analyzing here. I always say, what do I say about FMAs? Got to put this on a T-shirt too. You will live and die by your FMA. FMA says idle. You didn't see it. It's on you. And I say this not from a high and mighty. I've actually misinterpreted or not read my FMA before too, and my FO caught me, and it was awesome. No issue. Boom. High stress approach, visual, doing a bunch of things. I had to turn the auto thrust off. Called for it. He's called auto thrust. I said speed. It wasn't in speed. I just replied speed. It was off. And he's like, no, Captain, it's actually it's off. You have the thrust levers. And I'm like, you're right. Thank you. So even myself, that's why I'm not trying to say like, oh, I'm high and mighty at preaching this stuff. Is like I've fallen victim to this as well. But I just got to drive it home. You live and die by the FMA.
Okay. And in the heat of the moment, the captain didn't even notice that in his right hand, the throttles themselves hadn't moved forwards. They were still back at the idle position.
Oh, wow.
Flight 521 was now climbing away from the runway, bleeding off speed rapidly. As part of the go-around procedure, the first officer raised the flaps to 20 degrees. As they climbed past 50 feet, he announced positive rate, and the captain retracted the landing gear. Even between raising the flaps and the gear, the two pilots still didn't notice that the engine instruments showed idle thrust.
So we're going around in a wind shear with the power at idle, gear doors coming out, flaps are coming up. Not good. Swiss cheeses. Boom, boom, boom. We are lining up the slices of Swiss cheese for this. This is one thing after another. And see how fast this happens? In real time, this is less than, what, 10 seconds? Maybe even less than 5 seconds? 5 seconds in real time, and it's all happening. Crazy.
What's more, raising the gear made their speed problem even worse.
Mm-hmm. Gear doors coming out.
In a normal go-around, which the pilots were carrying out, raising the gear was fine. But in a wind shear escape maneuver, which the pilots should have been doing, they were supposed to keep the gear extended. This is because when the gear is raised, the landing gear doors first open, increasing the amount of drag experienced by the aircraft at a time when it really needs as little drag as possible so they can get away from the ground. But again, the pilots didn't know that they should have been carrying out the wind shear escape maneuver. In other words, it wasn't just that they were doing the right procedure but in the wrong way. They were doing the wrong procedure and they were doing it wrong.
Jeez.
They were doing a go-round with the engines on idle.
Jeez.
In the cabin, the passengers and cabin crew were completely oblivious to what was...
This is unrelated, but I'm curious if anybody knows or if this was even reviewed in the... I wonder what kind of headsets they had on. I say this only because I am consistently shocked that there is no official documentation or guidance for ANR headsets in airliners. I use one now, and I'm telling you, I lose situational awareness when the ANR is on because you do not hear it, and that's on an Airbus. I can only imagine if you're using ANR on a 777, you're not going to hear anything from all the way up there. I just find that so strange that has been completely ignored.
Was now unfolding in the cockpit. It was clear that the plane was beginning a go-round, but they were no more clued in than the pilots that the engines were at idle. The plane continued to trundle uphill, running out of speed. Passing 77 feet, its ground speed had now decreased to 135 knots.
They're just yeah, this is not good. Yeah, noise canceling. So when you have noise canceling on, you can't hear the engines. Because I say that because, like, if you have, so what I try to do at 10,000 feet, I turn my noise canceling off. So then my headset is in pass-through mode. So it's digitally passed through the sound, so I can hear everything normally as if I didn't have it on. It's a little bit maybe distorted, but I can hear. I can hear the levers. I can hear engines and everything. Whereas when it's on, can barely hear the engines. Not that it makes that big of a difference, but in a go-around, I mean, I don't know, maybe your body just needs one sense of something to tell you, hey, something's not right, or it's too quiet, or there's the engines. Okay, I got my power. If you don't hear the engines, what's going on? Maybe that directs you to instinctively look at your FMA again where you might have missed it the first time. Like, oh, shoot, we got to power up, move the throttles forward. But if you don't have that one little nuanced intuition because you have noise canceling on, I don't know, man. I just think it's strange. That's it. And I'm not saying I'm against it because I use it. I like it. Protect the hearing. It's good. I just think that I don't know. I just think it's weird that it's never been advised upon.
Unless the pilots did something fast, they would soon come crashing back down to Earth. In the tower, the controllers saw that the plane had aborted its landing attempt and instructed the crew to climb up to 4,000 feet. The first officer acknowledged this, and for a precious few moments that he could have used to notice that the engines were still at idle thrust, he changed the autopilot altitude to 4,000 feet. As the lumbering plane got slower, it began to approach the biggest danger yet.
The pilot monitoring
an
set
aerodynamic
for,
stall.
I guess?
This happens when the air approaches the wings from such an angle that rather than flowing smoothly over their upper surface,
Separation of laminar flow.
essentially disconnecting the plane from the sky. At 85 feet above the runway, and at a speed of 131 knots, the plane's computers warned them of this fact.
Not
This
good.
got their attention. How the pilots processed this information would be crucial. Because this was the first time during the go-round that they were even paying attention to the plane's speed, they assumed that it had been fine up until this point, and that they had only now suddenly lost a lot of speed. And what could be the culprit for such a sudden change in airspeed? Wind shear, of course. Wind shear Toga, the captain called. Ironically, the pilots were wrong again. Their low speed had nothing to do with wind shear. In fact, if anything, the headwind they were now experiencing was giving them an extra few knots. Rather, their low speed had to do with the fact that they had tried to make the plane climb with the engines at idle. With barely enough speed to stay in the air, Flight 521 began sinking. Finally, at this late stage, the pilots realized to their horror that the throttles had been at idle the entire time.
Airspeed low, instinctively firewall the thrust. In that scenario, right? Situational. You're 80 feet above the ground, airspeed low, I'm firewalling the throttles. I don't care. That's instinctive. I don't know the exact timeline, a sequence of events here. Gosh, that's why these episodes are so... It's just crazy to see how it unfolds, because you have a crew they literally were not doing anything incorrectly in their minds the entire way. The airplane, it's just these little factors that slide in here, these little slices of cheese just keep lining up, and then now you have yourself in the worst possible scenario. You're retracting lift devices, your gear's coming up, and you're stalling at idle thrust. Not to mention you got to spool up the engines now. This is not going to end well. But I also, and I say, it's mind-boggling, Alexander, it is, but this is why you always got to be careful, and I never like doing accident review videos or like to be the first. Like, I know there's other channels that's what they do, like Blanco Leary and stuff, is they immediately report on accidents. It's just like, you got to throw from a glass house. You're throwing the stones from a glass house, because you never know when that Swiss cheese is going to stack up on you, right? So being an active line guy myself, I don't ever, I say what I say. I try to be as objective as I can. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just trying to interject some experiences that I've had into these videos. And, but it's a glass house. It's a glass house, man. You got to be very, very careful, because these guys didn't really do anything wrong in their own opinion, their own mind. They were doing everything right. In their mind, they were doing everything right. But they weren't. So, here we go.
You can slam them to maximum power and then push the Toga button again just to be sure. The auto throttle mode was now
so
Toga,
now he's really Toga.
but it was much too late. It's a design feature of jet engines that they don't spool up immediately when full power is commanded, as doing so would disrupt the flow of air over the fan blades, causing them to stall. Therefore, the 777's engines take at least 6 seconds to go from idle to full power. And with the plane now descending towards the runway from just 80 feet, this was 6 seconds it simply didn't have. "Check speed," shouted the first officer, seeing how low the airspeed was.
Too late to be checking speed now.
The flight computer chimed in with its own alert. But it was too late. Just 18 seconds after the pilots had decided to go around, and 3 seconds after they finally applied full power, the 777 slammed onto the runway. The impact sheared the right engine completely off, along with the right landing gear, which had not finished retracting.
Wait, where was the positive rate gear up? Why did they go? Did they? I must have missed it. There should have been a positive rate call. That's another reason why you don't bring the gear up until you have positive rate, especially since it's not a wind. Or, I don't know. I must have missed that, but maybe they saw a small positive trend when they pulled back. But
the plane skidded on its belly and left engine, spun completely around, and went off the side of the runway.
The FO did call it. Okay.
It finally came to rest at the end of the runway.
Nice fire
with fire
effects.
erupting from the right wing. Rescue vehicles raced to the scene as fire began to engulf the aircraft. The first of the fire trucks arrived at the scene within 90 seconds, and
That's
the
good.
firefighters quickly started dousing the plane with
Dubai
foam.
is on it, man.
It was pandemonium on board the aircraft, as the nearly 300 passengers began rushing to evacuate through the few emergency exits.
Shout out to all firefighters, first responders. I mean, airport fire and rescue. 90 seconds, the dudes are just probably bored out of their mind at the fire station at the airport. Nothing's going on. And within 90 seconds, they're at the scene doing fire suppression. Man, shout out to ARF.
Which could actually be used. Only 3 out of the 10 exits were usable, with the others being blocked by smoke or by the emergency chutes themselves, which had been blown up against the exits by the wind. In all, it took almost 7 minutes until the last passenger was off, compared to the 90 seconds which is required by law. The captain and senior cabin crew member were the last ones on board, making their way through the smoky cabin on oxygen, looking for any remaining passengers in the burning aircraft. When suddenly, as they searched, the center wing tank exploded.
Ooh.
This sent a piece of the right wing flying off, which hit a firefighter, killing him.
Oh no.
The senior cabin crew member and captain then quickly evacuated. In all, everybody on board the aircraft survived, with 4 cabin crew sustaining serious injuries from when the aircraft impacted the runway. The crash...
Well, good on the captain and the senior flight attendant there getting on and in that scenario on fire, man, that is scary. Running through the airplane on O2 mask to make sure that no one's else. I mean, good on them that they did what they were supposed to do. And gosh, so unfortunate about the firefighter, man. Got hit by a piece of shrapnel.
Was the first hull loss and fatal accident for Emirates, and it came as a huge shock to the airline and the industry itself. It revealed that lessons about pilots' understanding of automation had still not been learned from the crash of another 777 at San Francisco 3 years previously.
Asiana 214.
You can watch my video about that incident
We've
here
watched
now,
that one.
using the link appearing on the top right of the screen. As a result of the crash, Emirates began training its pilots on how to carry out go-rounds after touchdown, rather than just from heights above 50 feet. It also altered its simulator training, so that instructors acting as pilot flying make small mistakes, in order to see whether the pilot monitoring notices these mistakes and calls them out. Air traffic controllers at Dubai now pass on information about wind shear to pilots, including reports from other pilots about how much speed they gained or lost during landing attempts as a result of wind shear. They also now tell arriving aircraft the reason that other planes have gone around. Crashes like that of Flight 521 highlight a kind of paradox of automation. On one hand, increased automation makes pilots' lives easier by lightening their workload and allowing them to focus on the bigger picture.
Yeah.
You
can have as much automation as you want, create as much automation, then we're just going to create a bigger idiot. I mean, I'm not saying anybody's an idiot here. It's just an expression for automation and anything. But like, you can have as much automation as you want. Someone will always do something stupider. Like it's just how it happens. So you got to train. Unfortunate that they didn't train to bulk go around. I think that probably could have saved that firefighter's life because they probably wouldn't have had an incident doing a bulk go around. But maybe it wouldn't have, right? Because they didn't even think that they landed. So who knows? It's just one of those. This is one of those accidents where,
especially important at high workload moments of flight. On the other hand,
just so unfortunate,
the more complex automation gets,
it's not easy to just point your finger at one thing. Okay, so this was the root cause. It was just they were doing what they thought was right, and the airplane did something else, and there was a disconnect. There was a disconnect between pilot and airplane. That's it. It's as simple as that. There was a disconnect between pilot and airplane. Yeah, we probably need to start
down. Harder it is for
down.
pilots to understand and
It's almost over here.
What this means for air safety is that planes crash less often, but they crash for different reasons. This problem of the interaction between man and machine is only bound to get more relevant over the coming years, as aircraft manufacturers like Boeing and Airbus strive to design ever more advanced automation for their aircraft.
All right. Yeah, we need to start down, I think. Just about. Let's see. I'm going to hit the lav, and then we're going to start down. 137 miles out. We need to start down in 40 miles. We'll get ready. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I don't even know what to say on that because I think I said it when I said there was a disconnect. Now, what is interesting, Carol's got a point here too. Toga not doing Toga things. I think that could be modified. I don't know if they ever did modify the Toga switch. To hit Toga and it not do anything, I don't know, man. That's weird. Even though the wheel touched, it grazed the ground and spoiler auto-deployed, but surely they didn't auto-deploy all the way. So, right? Because they would have known that. They probably just attempted to deploy and then came back down. Like I don't know. So, for instance, like on the thrust, like for spoiler deployment on the Airbus, if it's not armed, you have to have multiple things. Like the power has to be at idle and reverse has to be selected on one engine, and there has to be weight on wheels. I figure like maybe you can add another factor for the Toga switch. In order to inhibit Toga from creating Toga thrust, make it not just touchdown, make it levers at idle, weight on wheels, spoilers fully deployed, and reverse thrust. Or you could just make it simple. Reverse thrust selected on 1 or 2 engines, that deactivates the Toga from then commanding Toga. I think that would be a way to solve it. I don't know if they ever did, but it's interesting statistically when you think about the 777 and you think about 2 fatal crashes. We'll call it fatal because the firefighter did lose his life. All have to do with the Boeing automation and speed. If you've had 2 of those, I don't know. Maybe there needs to be looked at. I don't know. But Fred, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you're supposed to check, make sure thrust is set. It said idle, right? So it said idle, so that's on them for not looking at the FMA. I gotta rebind my window view here. We'll get rid of as we get rid of this view here. Let's go to lower deck. But I'm gonna hit the lav real quick, and then we got to start down and go to work. Yeah. So we'll do. Where should we park this camera? Let's do this view right here. We'll resave view. Boom. Boom. Yeah, and the throttles didn't move either. That's also not good. So we'll set up for the approach. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and just start down in case I don't get back in time. We'll go ahead and set flight level 300. Speed descent. Down we go. We'll get the seatbelt sign here in a minute. You have control. Don't touch anything. I'll be right back. I'm going to use the lav, and then we're going to land. All right. Lav cam. Yeah, we don't need a lav cam. All right. You have control. Don't touch anything. Be right back. Right. We back, I think. Yep, I'm back now. Run it back, y'all. 2-step real slow. Alright, let's go ahead and get rid of this thing, if I can. How do I get rid of this thing? Oh, no. I don't know how to get rid of it. We're leveling at 300. Continue descent, maintain flight level 200 for Thai 380 Super. VTBS, what kind of weather we got going on down there? Can we get weather information from here? VTBS, let's do the raw. I need to switch my camera view. VTBS 110 at 4. 3,000 mist. Just want to make sure I'm on live weather. I am on live weather, okay. VTBS, runway, what are we going to land on? What's the longest runway? 20, right? We're going to probably land on 2 left or right. How about 2 left? 2 left, approach. ILS Zulu, 2 left. Via Rieger. Insert. And let's go pre-pause, direct Rieger. Insert. Put you in plan mode, zoom it down, take a look at this. How do I step through it? There we go. Don't. How come I can't see Rieger on there? Oh, it's basically straight in. Not 2 left? What are we supposed to land on? 2 right, Infian? It's 2-0. Sorry, 2-0 left. Winds are 110 at 4. We're going to land 2-0 left. We're going to leave it as is. 2-0 left is what we're landing on. Where's the perf? Approach. Flaps full. Outside air temp is 26 and 110 at 4. So we've got temperature 26, winds 110 at 4 knots, and QNH 1012. We'll do a radio altimeter of 200 because I don't want to look it up. I don't know if I have charts in this thing. Go back to arc mode, zoom it back out. Can't get rid of this dang. Why is this the most confusing tray table click spot I've ever seen? Where is the click spot for the dang tray table? That's dumb. Tray table should be uninstalled. Alright. There's 522 different Airbus models in Flight Sim, and it's the worst one. Can't click it. What are the thoughts on AMD versus NVIDIA? So far, man, I'm loving the AMD, dude. We'll see. Here comes the landing. So we were able to take off. We've been doing a long flight. Let's see if we can land without some crazy stutters. We shall see. Stay tuned. We shall see. It's not dumb once you know the click spots. No, it's dumb because the click spots aren't intuitive. I've never not known where the click spot was on a tray table until I got in the 380. Dumb. You would think if I clicked on the edge there, lower the tray table. Nope. You would think this would be the click spot. Nope. Like, what sense does that make? Why would the footrest lower if I click in the middle where the tray table is? This isn't even folded up. I don't know how to fold it up. We have 52 different Airbuses in Flight Sim between Fenix, Tolis, and Fly-by-Wire. It's the only one that gives me issues. Alright, nav charts. Up to... Also, can we not move the EFB? So I get the problem that it's clicking through. I'd like to move it. It's kind of at an angle. Normally you can kind of rotate these. Alright, 20 left. ILS localizer Zulu 20 left. And what's the airport look like? 20 dash. Ooh, is there like 380 specific charts on this? There might be 380 taxi routes. You heard Flight Deck to Sim scoffing at my trade table issue? Oh no, is he streaming right now? Well, hey. He's just jealous that he doesn't have a tray table to scoff at. We don't eat off the maintenance book. We're not savages here at Airbus. Let's see. Where is the 29 page? Taxi charts, airport continued, airport briefing. Departure briefing, general. I don't want the briefing. I want just the taxi diagram. Where's the 20-9? I don't like that you can't drag. Oh, now I can drag it. It feels laggy, though. Feels laggy. There. Finally, we'll pin you. 7 pages of briefings. I know it. So 20 left. That's what we're going to land on. No idea where we're going to park. It's default. We'll just... This is closed. Can we fit on Echo? I thought there was like 380 taxi routes. Reference is maybe? Where's our Singapore? Or we're not going to Singapore. Where's my Thailanders at? Send and maintain 1010 down. I don't know how far we are. We're 38 miles. Let's drop down to 13,000. We need... oh. Can I do brake to vacate on this? I used to remember how to do it. If we zoom in here, please wait. Brake to vacate, Echo 15. I don't remember how to do this. BTV. I want to let me do BTV. Runway select first. Oh, yeah, that's right. I gotta remember how to do this. 20 left. Yeah, there we go. There's our stopping distance, dry. Let's vacate Echo 15. All right. Brake to vacate, armed. Nice. Okay, brake to vacate is set up on Echo 15. Cool. I can't wait to do that with the 350. That 350 stuff from Any Build today got me juiced. Can't wait to see Any Build's A350. And we'll have a VSD without having to run SimBridge, which is dead to me. Let's put constraints on. We'll put our LS push buttons on as well. What's VV? Vertical velocity indicator. We don't need that right now. ILS is flashing because FO needs his up, maybe? Yep. LS push buttons are set. That's supposed to be at 5,000 at Rieger. I don't know if we're going to make that. Let's set 5. Speed brakes are coming out. Oh, I remember this. Binding is backwards, too, in the fly-by-wire. Yeah, a lot of things that are still... Nah. Yeah, Turk, I'm I glazing, man. I'm glazing. That 350 looked good. I'm excited. We'll have everything that the 380 doesn't have. But when we have, you know, so many different Airbus variants, and then you get in this one, and it's like things are backwards and the bindings are backwards, like spoiler lever, the EFP. And I'm kind of surprised the EFP is as glitchy as it is, because the fly pad on the Neo is one of my favorite EFBs in the sim. Is the fly pad. This one is like, I don't know if it's because it's in the bad spot or what, but it's kind of laggy, delays on 2024. All right. Lights are on. Lights are set as we go through 10,000. I'm trying to slow below 250. I'll go ahead and select 250, manual speed. And we'll keep coming down. Barrows are set 290 250 selected. Let's activate confirm. We'll clear that. We'll activate confirm the approach phase. VAP is going to be VLS 158. VAP 136. Really? VAP 136, VLS 158. That doesn't seem right. Oh, that's for, okay, VREF 131, VAP 136. There we go. Okay, looking good, looking good. 131, 136. Yeah, we're trying to get down to 5,000 here. We'll keep the speed brakes out. Uh-oh. It's interesting that the speed's coming up when I'm trying to do an... Oh, that's because we're a managed. Let's do open. Thrust idle, open, descent. Slats 1. I've not had a chance to 388. What's your review? Oh, the 380 is... I mean, here's the thing. The 380 requires 24 gigabytes of VRAM, in my opinion. I don't think you can fly this with 16 gigs. Maybe on 1080p on low settings you could do it. But, I mean, we're eating 23 gigs of VRAM right now. We've been eating... Oh, I haven't seen the VRAM drop below 21 this entire stream. So, that's crazy. But the sounds are great. Model's pretty dang good. And it's a 380. I mean, look how ugly this thing is. It's so ugly, I like it, you know? That's the thing about the 380. It's so ugly that it's good. Oscar, I'm not doing it. Nope, Nabil, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it, Nabil, but look. Look at this. This is not real life, Nabil. I have only flown it with my 7900 XTX. Well, how much RAM is yours? 8 gigabytes? Okay, well, you're not flying it in 2K at ultra settings, I promise you that. Well, maybe in 2020, I don't know. In 2020, it was better optimized. 2024, or I don't know if it was. In 2024, I could not fly it with 16 gigabytes of VRAM. It was unflyable. But today, so far, so good. Today, so far, so good. And this is going to be a real good test because this is it. This is the GPU destroying weather condition, is haze and fog. So this is going to be a great test here. Can we land without stuttering to 0 FPS? So far, so good. Looks pretty smooth out there, though. Romario, leave her alone. She's beautiful. She's in her own way, Romario. She is beautiful. You're absolutely right. Canadian in the house. What's up, man? I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks the... King Bob, come on. The scenery, that rumble with the slats out. I know, man. Probably need to actually fly and slow down here. Let's come all the way back to 180 and... Guess we can arm it up. Here it comes. Approach mode, AP2. Brake to vacate. Glide slope blue, Loke star. So we've just captured the Loke. We're slowing down. We're about to capture the glide slope. We might have to throw the gear a hair early here. We'll see. There's VFE next. Let's go flaps too. Here comes the juice flaps. Oh, I love that sound. Flight recorder. Need to start flight recorder. Flight recorder is recording, and we hit 380 likes. Man, I guess we're going to have to do another 380 stream in the future. Don't start now, hiccups. All right, glide slope star, Loke star. Go around altitude. Let's just call it 4,000. Glide slope, Loke. Flight recorder might crash. We'll see. So far, it's doing okay, man. We're recording. This is the ultimate performance stress test. CPU, GPU utilization, 88%. 22 gigs, 22.5 gigabytes of VRAM. Man. Let's add to the stress. Let's turn on our cameras. Career trap. Yeah, get the likes back down to 350. Don't do that. Now, full disclosures, I have not landed this airplane ever. In 2024, I think we tried to land it one time. We had one frame when we were flying the Air Force One livery. I don't think I've tried to land it outside of that. I've taken off. I did my 2 test sector takeoffs. I didn't do any landings. Sounds are coming up. No flight sim guy. I'm running a AMD. I'm AMD on AMD now, man. The winds are calm. Uh-oh. Can I just auto land? Can we just do an auto land, please? Bangkok traffic, Thai 357 Super, ILS 20 left, 5 mile final. Bangkok. Or is it even Bangkok? It's VTBS. Why is there this little situation going on here? It's not offset, is it? Sovereign bum traffic, Thai 357 Super, 4 mile final, 20 left.
2,500.
Okay, let's go ahead and start the gear at 2,500 feet because it takes a little bit longer. Gear's coming down. That's a sweet view, though. Gear down. Flaps 3. It's called Swanapum traffic. And full flaps. Oof. Hearing that motor spool down, that is the best part. All right, landing check is cabin crew advised auto thrust speed. Auto brakes are BTV. Landing all green. Landing checklist is complete. Autopilot's coming off. I have control. Cat 3 single. I gotta remember not to touch the brakes. I'm a little concerned with my ND readout here. I'm a little bit concerned. I guess we're not. Anybody know what the visibility is? Elena Zane, yeah, I don't know what runway we're landing on. I hope there's a runway out there. What's crazy is it's telling me to go right. My ND runway is on the left. Oh, brother. It would be a good time to verify the localizer frequency right now, which I did not verify. I have a feeling we have the 20 right localizer in the box. Good thing this isn't real life.
400. 400. 400.
I'm starting to get butterflies. Something doesn't seem right.
100 above.
I see a runway. Runway, we got a piece of pavement to land on. Whether it's the right one or not, I'm not sure.
Minimum.
Traffic, Vietnam Air 605 is left downwind, turn 3.0, track north, For RP runway 20 right.
All right, it's there.
Via Rupert.
50,
That's the wrong
40,
runway.
30, 20, retard. 10,
We just, I
Five.
mean, we're landing on 20 right. That's okay. Spoilers. Is it going to brake to vacate even though I'm on the wrong runway? I know. I wasn't going to go around and change it. So it didn't change the lope frequency. That's what it was. I told you. 70 knots, manual brakes. It actually
auto brake off.
brake to vacate pretty good there. Dump, dump. I think that was a butter. I don't know. I had a feeling when I saw that on the ND something was incorrect. Oh, I mean, we're still able to land though. This does not look like my airport diagram that I have. Wow. Stop the recording. Turk, I think you might be right though. I think the XTX is goated, man. The fact that we were able to land in this fog. Yeah, there's a little stutter when I'm moving the camera back and forth. But as far as the taxi, I mean, look how buttery this is in the taxi. I mean, that's impressive. Because it was unflyable before. How does it feel to know you can successfully run a 380 in a full flight? I mean, I'm a little bit more excited. I'm more bummed that the EFB and the auto import was giving us issues. I'm a little bummed about that. Because I kind of want to fly it again. No PowerPoint stream. We'll stop the recording. Recording has been stopped. And I don't think we have an updated airport layout. I think that's the problem here. That is the problem. Yeah, see, it actually, that's crazy. So we did brake to, it did everything right. It did everything right. So it's just the scenery is not correct. What's this?
Traffic, 422 heavy tunnel runway to the left.
Bangkok traffic, Thai 357 super clear of all active runways. Last call Bangkok. I know it's not Bangkok, but I can't remember what it's called. And there's someone on final, so try to ease his mind. I did see that, Yusuf. The AMD said they might be releasing a 32 gigabyte GPU soon. I saw that. Now, I don't, so this is where I don't know any of the numbers, what they mean. Like, it's like a different version of it's a different card, so I don't know if it is just as powerful or is it a less powerful card with more VRAM. I don't know. I don't know anything about AMD. It's the first time I've had an AMD card since 2006. It's all been dead to me for almost 2 decades. But it is back alive. I think I'm keeping it. I think I'm going to post the 4080 Super on the Facebook Marketplace, unless one of you wants to grab it. If you want my 4080 Super, I'll sell it to you. Very good price. It's less than 2 months old. It's like a month-old card, virtually brand new. Let's just go ahead and park here. But this is pretty cool. Ah, a little stutter there. That's okay. That's our first stutter. First real stutter. But this gives me hope for the 350, because if we can fly the 380, I think we'll be able to fly the 350 from any builds. I'm not going to do any of the light stuff because I'm just going to park it and I'm going to watch the replay. Save some frames without using the little OWANs thing there. How do I get rid of the... Man, we need the marketplace and sceneries to enter 2024. Oh, a little off center line. Look at that tail. Erp. Boom. All right. They said that the 350 performance is similar to their 330. Well, that's good because we did a 330 flight and it was butter. So, all right. Let's watch the replay. Replay cam. Disconnect from my Veo Premium. Let's see if this crashes the sim. I already prepared some custom profiles for the 350 3 months out. Nice, dude. I like this livery too, Steven. The 350. I think the 350. Do you guys think the 350 is going to be more or less game changing than the 380 from Fly-by-Wire? When the Fly-by-Wire 380 came out, it was mayhem. There was like 2,000 viewers, it was 1,800 viewers live when the 380 dropped. It was mayhem. Didn't see anything with 380s. I'm inclined to say the 350 is going to be even bigger. I think there's going to be way more people interested in a payware 350, even though it's not free, which is a great argument. I think the 350 is going to be like 777. Here's it. That's the next. Is it going to be 777 break the internet or not? Because the 777 pretty much broke the internet. I don't know. I think the 350 will be more than the 777 as far as internet breaking goes. I think it's going to be mayhem. Just my personal opinion. Gosh, I love seeing those little aileron dance out there. Whee! All right, let's run it forward. And oh, I got the parking brake. I got to turn
2,500. 1,000.
All right, 1,000 feet. The fact that I'm able to do this, turn the parking brake off, put the auto thrust back on. The fact that I'm able to do this without the sim collapsing is impressive. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. We did a good thing. It's time to get back to streaming. It's time to get back to Tour de Americas. Probably tomorrow, 3 p.m. That's my 3 p.m. Central is the plan for Tour de Americas, I think. I'll try to get it scheduled after the conclusion of this stream. Hold it off for butter. Oof. Maybe it wasn't too buttery. It's kind of hard to get a smooth landing on this thing. Nice, we got some decent modeling under there. Maybe. We got some levers and some things in there. Let's see what the touchdown looked like. Seemed pretty standard. Wasn't the smoothest of smooth. Little off center line. Hey. I'll take it though. I tell you what, I'm gonna wind it back. I'm gonna put the gear back up where they were, put the flaps where they were, put the thrust where it was. I'm gonna do a max test here. Let's run the sunset. Pseudo night landing. All right. Done. Oh, that's going to be hot. All right. Testing is complete, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming along for the ride. Thank you for smashing that like button. 428 likes already. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the support. Hope you enjoyed the green dot in cruise. Thank you for the new members that would join. Thank you for the super chats. Again, shout out to Green Dot Aviation on YouTube. Check him out. Overall success. Oh my gosh, with the sun setting, I'm done. All right. Thank you all. Until the next one, stay safe, stay healthy. I'm V1. This is Real Life Chat. Soup!